Chapter 1414. 1414. Disguised as a private visitor. Windfrost City, City Lord, get your ass over here. An angry shout came from Mang Hong's mouth, and his voice instantly resounded throughout the entire Windfrost City. The group of middle-aged elders, standing in front of Feng Wuan, were stunned. When they felt the loud and clear voice from Mang Hong's mouth, they felt a bad premonition. Especially when the burly man behind the veiled woman actually shouted for the city lord to get his ass out. In Windfrost City, this was a matter of treason and courting death. If one didn't have the strength, they definitely wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. Oh, at this moment in a warm room, the city lord of Windfrost City, who was watching a group of beautiful women dancing, heard this shout, and his expression changed slightly. Insightful Void Realm expert. The eyes of the city lord of Windfrost City flickered. Who dares to cause trouble in Windfrost City? His figure moved, and he directly appeared in the sky above the city lord's mansion. He coldly shouted. In an instant, everyone in Windfrost City was stunned by these two shouts. The citizens of Windfrost City raised their heads with stunned expressions and looked at the city lord above the city lord's mansion. Everyone in Windfrost Lake also looked at the position of the carriage with stunned expressions. Who are you people? The dozen or so people in front of the carriage stared at them with their eyes wide open. City Lord of Wind and Frost City, come here immediately. I have something to ask you. Feng Wuan raised her head and looked at the sky above the city lord's mansion as she said with a twinkle in her eyes. Her clear and cold voice once again resounded throughout the entire Wind and Frost City. This voice, when the city lord of Windfrost City heard Feng Wuan's voice, his eyes widened slightly, and his pupils couldn't help but shrink. His body trembled, and he hurriedly flew over. From afar, when he saw Feng Wuan's figure, the old woman behind her, Mang Hong, and a few familiar figures in the surroundings, he felt his vision go black. Her Majesty, Her Majesty! His voice trembled as he hurriedly flew over and directly knelt on the ice-cold surface of the lake. What? Your Majesty? The Dragon and Phoenix Queen? That's our queen? My God, the queen! When everyone around saw the city lord kneeling on the surface of the lake in fear and trepidation, their faces revealed shock. It had already been a year since the Snow Wind dynasty was subdued by the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty. However, this was the first time they had met Her Majesty the Queen. Moreover, it was done in this way. Your Majesty the Queen, please spare my life. Your Majesty the Queen, please spare my life. The dozens of middle-aged elders in front of the carriage instantly had their foreheads filled with cold sweat. They knelt on the ground and shouted in fear. Your Majesty the Queen! Everyone in the surroundings was prepared to kneel on the ground. You don't have to kneel. Feng Wuan waved her arm, causing the surrounding people to be unable to kneel down. This method caused the surrounding people to widen their eyes and be filled with shock. Half a year ago, I gave an order that the children of my Dragon and Phoenix dynasty can enjoy the transcendent rank 1 clear spirit grass for free to wash their bodies and become the foundation of an expert. Why? When I came here, some of the children can't receive it for free. Why must there be conditions? The dynasty takes out trillions of middle-grade spirit stones every year just to lay a solid foundation for the children. When the youth is strong, the dynasty is strong. City Lord Feng Shuang, you are plotting against the future of the dynasty. Feng Wuan's face was ice-cold as she stared at the city lord of Feng Shuang City. When City Lord Feng Shuang heard Feng Wuan's words, his face was extremely pale as he said in fear, Your Majesty, I don't know about this matter. It has nothing to do with me. No matter what, you have already derelict your duty. I think you don't need to be the city lord anymore. I will thoroughly investigate this matter. If it has something to do with you, if you have done other things that harmed the people, then you will be punished according to the laws of the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty. Feng Wuan waved her arm, and a ring of fire flew directly toward the city lord of Windfrost City. No, Your Majesty, no. The city lord of Windfrost City's expression changed greatly, and he shouted out in terror. Xiuqing, Inform the Prime Minister to send a profound void martial artist to take over the position of the City Lord of Wind Frost City. Mang Hong, go investigate the matter between the Spirit Grass and the City Lord of Wind Frost City. Feng Wuan ordered the old woman and Mang Hong beside her. It's Your Majesty. The two nodded respectfully. I am the ruler of the Dragon Phoenix Dynasty, and you are the citizens of the Dragon Phoenix Dynasty. As citizens of the Dragon Phoenix Dynasty, you will enjoy all the benefits and policies of the Dragon Phoenix Dynasty. As officials, you must love the people, and as citizens you must own the country. The dynasty will ensure the safety of everyone's lives, and allow everyone to live as happily as possible. I hope that the people of the Dragon and Phoenix Dynasty will become stronger. The Dragon and Phoenix Dynasty has a complete promotion system, especially the young people. The future Dragon and Phoenix Dynasty will belong to your era. Feng Wuan's gaze swept across everyone as she spoke in a deep voice. Thank you, Your Majesty. Our life this year is already much better than before. That's right. Be it the education of our children or the free distribution of goods. This is something that we didn't dare to imagine in the past. Thank you, Your Majesty. The citizens shouted at Feng Wuan excitedly. I am the people. Only the people can be for me. Water can carry a boat, and it can also overturn it. Among you, there might be a pillar of the Dragon and Phoenix Dynasty in the future. Do your best. As Feng Wuan spoke, she gestured to Wang Xian and the group of girls before flying directly towards the city lord's mansion. I didn't expect that a queen would actually say that I serve the people. Only the people can serve me. Water can carry a boat, and it can capsize a boat. In the lake, a teacher who was teaching students looked at the figure in the sky with a face full of respect. Compared to a year ago, our lives are much better. I didn't expect that the queen would personally come today, and even imprison the city lord. This is a powerhouse at the profound void tier. According to the decree that has been issued for many years, if it is fully implemented, then our lives in the future will be even better. The queen is secretly visiting us in disguise. She came to our city and directly crippled the city lord. This is a good king. In the future, I want to cultivate well. I want to become an expert. I want to fight for our dynasty. The appearance of the queen made everyone in Wind and Frost City look excited. Especially those few words of the queen. They had the urge to die for those who were close to them. I serve the people. Only the people can serve me. Compared to the reign of the Snow Wind Dynasty, the current Dragon and Phoenix Queen was simply too good. 4 days later, when the new city lord arrived, all the items that were confiscated by the previous city lord were distributed to the people. 4 days later, Feng Wuan, Wang Xian, and the rest left Wind and Frost City. On the Wind and Frost Lake, an ice sculpture that was 200 meters tall was erected. The ice sculpture was a woman wearing a veil. It was lifelike and full of majesty. This was the Dean of the Wind and Frost Academy. He personally carved it for the Queen of Dragons and Phoenixes. This was to express his respect and respect for the Queen. This is also one of the most important landscape of Wind and Frost City in the future. It is also the first stop of the history of the Queen in private. Chapter 1415. 1415. What is a heaven's pride? 1. Tingfeng City. Hanyang City. Lingwei City. In the following days, Wang Xian, Feng Wuan, and a group of girls walked past one city after another. In these cities, they met arrogant families and rich second-generation children who wanted to molest Xiaoyu and the group of girls. Their results could be imagined. As the queen of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire, it was no exaggeration to say that she controlled the lives of billions of people in the entire Dragon and Phoenix Empire. Those who committed crimes within a city were directly eliminated. There were also kinder families and experts with great ambitions who were directly recruited by Feng Wuan and conferred as ministers of the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty. They walked through dozens of cities consecutively and used nearly 100 days. Along the way, they also browsed through the scenery of the various cities. In this competition, I must obtain a spot in the top 10. Only then will I have a chance to enter the Dragon and Phoenix Imperial City and battle with the geniuses of more than 200 cities in the entire dynasty. Competing with the heavens favorites from more than 200 cities. Just thinking about it makes me very excited. If I can reach the royal city, I will have a chance to meet the queen. Her Majesty the Queen is a peerless expert at the 5th level of the see-through void realm. I heard that Her Majesty the Queen is secretly visiting in disguise. In the past few months, she has visited dozens of cities. Some families and city lords who have bad manners have been punished. I really want to see the Queen's heroic bearing. Haha, I want to see it too. I wonder if there's a chance. In front of a huge city, Wang Xian Feng Wuan and a group of girls walked onto a spacious road and walked into the city ahead. In the surroundings, young men who were filled with fighting spirit rode on their mounts and walked into the city in high spirits. This is Flaming Sun City, once the imperial city of a dynasty. Now this city is one of the top 5 cities in the Dragon Phoenix dynasty. This is also the furthest city from our Dragon and Phoenix Imperial City. It's more than 100,000 kilometers away. Walking on the road, Feng Wuan introduced the city to Wang Xian, and the rest with a smile. It seems that this place is only about 100,000 kilometers away from the cemetery of humans and demons. Wang Xian looked around and said, "Yes, this place is very close to the cemetery of humans and demons." Feng Wuan nodded and looked towards the east. The area within 200 to 300,000 kilometers around the tomb of the humans and demons is the most glorious place in the Flowing Sea region. Wang Xian nodded slowly. That was indeed the case. There were 4 top-notch forces, 1 dynasty, and 1 sky sword sect that was close to the dynasty. Your Majesty, it seems that the results of the Dragon and Phoenix Dynasty's prodigy competition are pretty good. Mang Hong, who was sitting at the side, looked around and said happily, "Yes, it's going well. It will be held every 3 years. In this way, our Dragon and Phoenix Dynasty will have an endless stream of experts." Feng Wuan also nodded in satisfaction. As soon as they entered the city, a lively atmosphere blew over. The discipline and order of this Flaming Sun City is quite good. Guan Shuqing and Xiaoyu glanced around and found that this place was much better than other cities. Hee. Now that news of the Queen's private visit in disguise has basically spread in the Dragon and Phoenix Dynasty, which city lord or family member dares to be impudent? Mang Hong said with a smile. This atmosphere is good. It seems that there will be a prodigy competition here in the next few days. We can watch the competition, hee. Shuqing, Xiaoyu, and the rest of the girls were filled with energy along the way. There was a constant flow of delicious food and beautiful scenery. If they saw anything good, they would immediately buy it. This was just like a woman shopping. She was full of energy. Even Feng Wuan was not immune to it. Under the guidance of a few girls, she bought many beautiful clothes, rouge, and gadgets. Wang Xian was in a good mood when he saw how happy they were. That's not bad. Let's treat it as a martial arts competition performance. Haha. Wang Xian laughed and echoed from the side. Everyone laughed. Once they entered the center of the city, the management of the entire Flaming Sun City was in place. It was basically harmonious. As the former imperial city, there were many strong people and powerful families here. The group of them looked for many restaurants, but could not find a place to stay. Hence they bought a manor. This was their last stop. The first Heaven's Pride competition of the Dragon Phoenix Empire was about to be held in the Dragon Phoenix Royal City. Feng Wuan was going to appear during the competition. Xiao Xian, Sister Feng Wuan. We got more than 10 admission tickets for tomorrow's competition. Look there at the front row. Wang Xian Feng Wuan and Sun Lingxiu sat in the courtyard of the manor and sipped their tea. Xiaoyu and Xu Qing, who were full of energy, came back with tickets in their hands and said happily, all right. Let's go and take a look tomorrow." Wang Xian nodded with a smile. "I heard that the night scenery of Yinyang City is very beautiful. Shall we go out for a walk tonight?" Xiaoyu pulled Wang Xian's arm and said, "You guys are really full of energy." Wang Xian shook his head helplessly. "All right." Feng Wuan nodded her head with some interest. Wang Xian was even more helpless. In the evening, they arrived at a new city. Everyone was filled with novelty. Xiao Yu and Xu Qing, who were the most excited, held their communication stone plates and looked at the tour guide. Let's go to the shore of Hero Lake first. That is the most famous lakeside in Yinyang City. There is a saying that if you can't reach the shore of Hero Lake, you are not a hero. Let's go, Xiao Yu said loudly. The group of people naturally didn't have any objections and walked towards the so-called Hero Lake. So many people. The group of people came to a lake that only had a radius of 5 kilometers. Only then did they know what it meant to have a lot of people. The Waning Moon young master from the Waning Moon city is in front. Quick, let's go and have a look. The Waning Moon young master is the #1 prodigy in the Waning Moon city. He can definitely rank in the top 3, or even #1 in this prodigy competition. Young Master Nanfeng, Young Master Qianjun, and Goddess Huahua are all at the front. They are all strong contenders for the first place. At this moment, the voices of young men and women could be heard from the surroundings. Especially some women. Their eyes were glowing as they walked forward like they were chasing after a star. The atmosphere here is pretty good. Wang Xian looked around and revealed a faint smile. Let's go and take a look at the heaven's favorites in this competition. Xiao Yu walked forward with great interest. Wang Xian and the rest followed behind. Your temperament is extraordinary, and your head is prominent. All of you are the heaven's favorites in the Flaming Sun continent. In the upcoming competition, the heaven's favorites will compete for supremacy. I wish all of you young masters and ladies the best. Haha, Miss Huahua, you don't have to be so humble. Everyone knows your strength. There are not many people who are your match in this competition. Just as they got closer to the front, Wang Xian and the rest heard loud and hearty laughter. The laughter was filled with ease. Wang Xian and the rest looked over. There were more than 20 young men under a pavilion by the lakeside. Some of them were sitting, some were leaning on bamboos, and some were holding wine flasks. All of them were extraordinarily handsome. Many of the people around looked over with admiration and respect. A group of level 8 transcendents. There are even a few level 9 transcendents among them. They are not bad. Wang Xian looked over and commented indifferently. Chapter 1416. 1416. What was a heaven's pride? 2. A young genius at level 8 or 9 extraordinary was already a very dazzling existence in a dynasty or a city. Especially a level 9 extraordinary, it was enough to establish a pretty good family. Even if it was in a capital, it was still the same. It's still pretty good. These are all talents that can be molded. Teach them well. At least half of them can reach the insightful void realm. Feng Wuan looked over and slowly nodded her head. These people were the top geniuses among the 700 to 800 million people. To be able to reach the 8th or 9th level of the extraordinary realm was also a dragon among men. However, these so-called heaven's favorites were a little weak by Wang Xian's standards, especially when compared to the heaven's favorites in the tomb of the human demon. In the tomb of the human demon, one must have the strength of a half-step insightful emptiness realm if they wanted to enter the top 20 of the heaven's favorites list. Even many young people at the half-step void interpretation realm couldn't enter the prodigy role. Perhaps there would be a half-step void interpretation realm prodigy in this year's prodigy competition of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty, but obviously, there was no such person here. Let's go sit down and eat something to enjoy the night view. Xiao Yu and the others were dispirited when they saw the so-called prodigies. In their eyes, the strength of the so-called prodigies was even weaker than the weakest of the Dragon Palace. All right. Everyone nodded and went to a pavilion at the side. They ordered some food and drinks. Soon, the sound of music could be heard from the small lake. In the lake, a woman was holding a guzheng and playing a song. A young man from the group of heaven's favorites was waving a long sword on the water with great interest. Inxian, I haven't heard you play the guqin for a long time. Wang Xian looked at Tang Inxian and said with a smile. That's right, sister-in-law Inxuan's guqin is like a dream. Sister Inxian, do you want to play a song? Wang Xian opened his mouth and looked at Tang Inxian. The girls were also staring at her with great interest. Okay. Since husband and the other sisters want to hear it, I'll play a song for you. Tang Yinxian was all smiles. She was originally from the Heavenly Note sect, and she had also comprehended a special sound wave energy from the dolphins. The music she played could make one feel as if they were in a fairyland. Tang Yinxian waved her arm gently, and a guqin at the third level of the void interpretation realm appeared in her hand. This guqin was called the bell. It was the name of the first guqin that Wang Xian gave her, and it had been used ever since. Ring, ring, ring. The guqin floated beside Tang Yinxian. Her slender fingers moved slightly, and in an instant, the surroundings seemed to have quieted down. What a pleasant sound. When Tang Yinxian's guqin rang, everyone around was slightly stunned. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Even the surrounding heaven's favorites looked over hurriedly. What a beautiful melody. It can actually affect a person's mind. Everyone was slightly shocked as they quietly listened. The sound was pleasing to the ear and went straight to the mind. Tang Yinxian was playing a cheerful piece of music to express her feelings. When the surrounding people heard his music, they could not help but smile happily. In the lake, the young sword-wielding heaven's favorite seemed to have gained some enlightenment, and the sword technique in his hand became even more agile and agile. Sister Yinxian, the young man in the lake has realized something, and is about to break through. Give him a hand. At this moment, Feng Wuan sensed the fluctuations from the sword-wielding young man in the lake, and a strange look appeared in her eyes as she whispered to Tang Yinxian. Oh! Tang Yinxian looked at the young man in the lake, and a smile appeared on her face. Good fortune. She lowered her head slightly, and her fingers moved quickly. The sword in the young man's hand became more and more dreamy. Streams of water followed his sword technique, and a blurry image appeared behind him. A crescent moon reflected in the lake. Look at young Master Xiaoya's sword technique. My God, has he comprehended something? Is he going to break through? Young Master Xiaoyu has comprehended something. Is he going to become the #1 half-step void interpretation expert in our Flaming Sun continent? Everyone around had shocked expressions on their faces as they stared blankly at young Master Xiaoyu in the lake. Even the group of heaven's favorites had shocked expressions as they stared at young Master Xiaoyu in the lake with their eyes wide open. He's still a little bit away, but he'll definitely break through within 2 days. Feng Wuan looked at him with a hint of admiration in her eyes. It was not bad for the Dragon and Phoenix Empire to have such a young half-step void interpretation expert. Ha. Not long after, when the sound of Tang Yinxian's guqin disappeared, young Master Xiaoya in the lake laughed out loud with excitement on his face. Young Master Xiaoya, you've broken through? Under the pavilion of the group of heaven's favorites, a lady asked with a twinkle in her eyes. Not yet, but I'm almost there. Ha. Young Master Xiaoya placed the treasured sword in his hand back into its scabbard and laughed happily. His eyes looked towards the pavilion of Wang Xian and the rest. When he saw Tang Yinxian, his eyes lit up. His body moved, and he flew straight towards Wang Xian. The sound of this lady's guqin is truly like the music of the heavens. If it wasn't for her celestial voice, I wouldn't have been able to comprehend it. Xiaoya, thank you again. Xiaoya Gongzi came to the pavilion and cupped his hands towards Tang Yinxian. Xiaoya Gongzi actually went to look for the lady who was playing the guqin. I have to say that the sound of the guqin just now was really like the music of the heavens. This is the best guqin I've heard. Wow, look at that beautiful woman playing the zither. She's so beautiful. She's like a goddess in the sky. The few women beside her are also very beautiful. Why are there so many beautiful women? The surrounding people looked over. When they saw Tang Yinxian and the others, their faces were filled with astonishment. There's no need. Tang Yinxian shook her head lightly. I wonder how old you are. Where are you from? Young Master Xiaoya looked at Tang Yinxian and asked again. My sister-in-law. At this moment, Xiaoyu suddenly said, causing young Master Xiaoya's face to stiffen. This lady your sister-in-law? This? Young Master Xiaoya's handsome face was obviously stunned. He asked hesitantly. I wonder if you are married. Why? What else do you want to do? Xiao Yu asked mockingly. Naturally, it's a fair competition. Young Master Xiao Yu puffed out his chest as he spoke. He looked at Wang Xian, who was the only young man in front of him. I believe this brother is this lady's boyfriend. You are also here to participate in the Heaven's Favorites competition? Why don't we spar a little? I would like to see what qualifications you have to be favored by such a beautiful lady. Wang Xian looked at this young Master Xiao Ye and smiled. Let's go, husband. Tang Yinxian held Wang Xian's arm and winked at him with a smile. Let's go, let's go. There are too many people here. The group of girls also stood up with a smile and walked out. Coward, if you're a man, let's spar. Young Master Xiaoya's expression changed slightly. He gritted his teeth and shouted at Wang Xian. I will get the title of the #1 Heaven's Favorite in Flaming Sun City. I'm the most outstanding young man. When the time comes, miss. He was a little unwilling to admit defeat as he spoke. However, when he saw Wang Xian, Tang Yinxian, and the rest leaving without turning back, his expression changed. Young Master Xiaoya clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were filled with fighting spirit. When everyone around saw this scene, they were slightly stunned. This Xiao Yu Gongzi actually fell in love with a woman. However, the other party already had a boyfriend and didn't care about him at all. This was gossip. Chapter 1417. 1417. What is a chosen one? 3. Sister Inxuan's charm is really great. All of you have great charm. To be able to meet all of you is the blessing of my life. That's right. A group of people walked on the streets of Flaming Sun City with smiles on their faces as they chatted. They strolled until 12 o'clock before they returned to the manor where they were staying. As night fell, the entire Flaming Sun City was extremely quiet and filled with harmony. This was the most harmonious city they had ever come to. The customs of the people and the city lord's manor were very good, and there were no rich family disciples who were courting death to provoke them. Even if they met a young prodigy who wanted to pursue Tang Yinxian, their attitude was still considered very good. Let's go and watch the competition. The next morning, Xiao Yu, Guan Shuqing, and the other girls said excitedly. Let's go. I also want to see the strength of some of the geniuses in the Flaming Sun continent. Feng Luan nodded and paid a private visit in disguise. She naturally wanted to go and take a look at such important matters related to the dynasty. She wanted to see the venue and the strength of the younger generation of the dynasty. After eating some simple food, the group walked towards the Academy of Flaming Sun City. Flaming Sun City Academy was the largest academy in the entire Flaming Sun continent region. It was also the most luxurious academy. The dean was an expert at the second level of the see-through void tier. In this prodigy tournament, not only would the dean appear, even the mayor would come to watch the final match. When Wang Xian and the rest arrived, they realized that there were already more than 100,000 people gathered in the surroundings. As the first prodigy tournament held by the Dragon and Phoenix Empire, the prizes that were presented were extremely precious. Once one could enter the Dragon and Phoenix Royal City, one could basically become the general of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire in the future. This was a dream for all the youths. The surroundings of the entire competition ground were very lively. Many people sat on their seats and watched. In the arena, there were 5 arenas competing at the same time. The arena in the middle was the largest, having a radius of more than a kilometer. This competition came from more than 20 cities. Only the top 5 geniuses of each city had the qualifications to come to Flaming Sun City for the competition. Among the 120 geniuses from each city, only 10 had the qualifications to enter the Dragon Phoenix Royal City for the final competition. At that time, there would be 200 geniuses from the 20 continents battling each other. Come, our seats are at the front. Everyone came to the front. Today is the first Heaven's Pride competition of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty. It's also the beginning of the battle for the geniuses of our Flaming Sun competition zone. You are from our Flaming Sun competition zone. Before the start of the competition, an old man floated at the front. More than 100 geniuses from more than 20 cities came to the arena. The old man was the city lord of Flaming Sun City, a third-level insightful void tier powerhouse. The city lord opened with a long opening speech, and then the competition began with the announcement of the principal of Flaming Sun Academy. Draw lots and fight. Young Master Xiaoya, Young Master Xiaoya. Qianjun will definitely win. Goddess Huahua, I love you. If you get first place, I'll marry you. Beat this guy up. When the geniuses from the various cities drew lots one by one, the audience cheered for them. They cheered for the geniuses they liked and thought highly of. Great-grandfather, what are we doing here? Are we watching their match? With their strength, I'm not saying that I can defeat all of them by myself. With their strength, they still dare to call themselves geniuses. If they were placed in the Ladyboy graveyard, they would become a joke. At this moment, in a spectator stand around the arena, 5 or 6 people were sitting in a corner. A young man lazily looked at the 100 or so geniuses in the arena, his eyes filled with arrogance and disdain. In his opinion, he could easily crush these so-called geniuses. They weren't qualified to be called geniuses yet. Only people like him were truly geniuses. There will be a huge change in the monster graveyard. The monster race is restless. There's news that some monster race wants to establish a monster dynasty. However, the monster race isn't unified. Some monster race don't agree. They want to split up like humans and establish a dynasty. Right now, there is a huge battle going on inside the demonic beast graveyard. An old man standing beside the young man frowned and said slowly with a solemn expression, "A few 100,000 demonic beast races want to establish a dynasty? This is really interesting. Isn't it better for them to fight among themselves? It will just weaken their own strength." The young man said with a curious smile, "As the saying goes, if you don't destroy it, you won't be able to establish it. If you destroy it, you'll be able to establish it later. This isn't a good thing for the humans in the human demon graveyard, or even the flowing sea region. In the Transcendence continent, the 10,000 Fey Empire, you can see that they have the least number, but they are one of the 5 great empires. Once the demon beasts in the human demon graveyard are unified, they will erupt with terrifying might. We have to make some preparations in advance." Although the strength of the young people here cannot be compared to the geniuses in the human demon graveyard, each of them is a talent that can be molded. In the future, they won't be inferior to others. As the old man spoke, his gaze swept over the few young people on the arena, and a satisfied expression appeared on his face. "It's great-grandfather. Great-grandfather, you've come personally. It's not easy to recruit some disciples. Our bloodstream sex reputation is placed here." When the young man heard the old man's words, his expression turned solemn as he spoke arrogantly. The old man faintly nodded his head. The mutation in the monster-human graveyard would definitely affect the human side. And as the top faction in the monster-human graveyard, they were able to get to where they were today because they had a sense of danger. With the rise of the demonic beasts, they had to make preparations in advance and recruit more geniuses and experts to prepare for the future. When they came to Flaming Sun City, they happened to find out that the Heaven's Favorites competition was being held here. Let the competition begin. At this moment on the 4 arenas, there were already 8 young geniuses standing. The battle of Heaven's Favorites had already begun. Wang Xian and the rest were watching it with great interest. Although their battle seemed extremely childish in the eyes of Wang Xian and the rest, it was just like an adult watching a child fight. It was also filled with fun. Cheers and cheers could be heard from the surroundings from time to time. The atmosphere of the entire competition ground was extraordinary. Wang Xian and the rest watched more than 10 matches in the morning. In the afternoon, the group of girls felt bored and went to some gourmet restaurants in Flaming Sun City to eat delicious food. The next morning the group returned again. The competition was only for 2 days. In other words, 10 Heaven's Favorites would be born in the afternoon and would head to the Dragon and Phoenix Empire to participate in the finals. That person called Xiaoya, Qianjun Lu Fengwen, Zhou Hai, and Nangong Huahua are all at Transcendent Level 9. They should be able to rank in the top 5. Mang Hong stood at the back and watched the competition. Chapter 1418. 1418. What was a chosen one? 4. They are not bad. But there is another young man who is very good. That young man in tattered clothes has very good skills. He should have just broken through to Transcendent Level 8. But his rich experience almost caused Qianjun to fail miserably. This young man should not be from a good family. In time, he won't be inferior to that Xiaoyu. The old woman at the back said to Mang Hong with a smile. When this generation of prodigies rises up, our Dragon Phoenix Empire will become better and better, haha. Mang Hong laughed happily. The selection of the top 10 has ended. Congratulations to Xiaoyu, Qianjun, Zhou Hai, Lu Fengwen, Nangong Huahua, He Yiqing and the other 10 prodigies. You will represent the Flaming Sun continent to Dragon Phoenix Royal City to participate in the final competition. At that time, you will compete with the other continent's prodigies. In the afternoon, the 10 prodigies will have a ranking. Who will be able to become the king of the prodigies of our Flaming Sun continent? Everyone, let's wait and see. On the stage, the teachers of Flaming Sun Academy announced loudly. I didn't expect that other than that young man from Daybreak Moon. There's also a good seedling. At this moment, in a corner of the stage, an elder from the Bloodstream sect said in slight surprise. Oh, there's more? Great-grandfather, didn't you say that Xiaoyu is about to break through to the half-step void interpretation realm? Who else could it be? The arrogant youth beside the old man asked in surprise. That plain-clothed youth, He Yiqing, didn't take too many pills from his body. He has rich battle experience, and should have fought in the wild. He's a good seedling. The old man lightly stroked his beard and said with a smile. Is that so? The youth looked over curiously. The duel in the afternoon didn't drag on for too long. 2 hours later, the competition continued. This time, it was the battle for the top 10 rankings. It was much more exciting than the one in the morning and yesterday. Every youth wanted to prove themselves and obtain a higher ranking. At the start of the ranking competition, every genius youth who appeared on stage drew a flood of cheers. The 10 youths had undoubtedly become the 10-star figures of the Flaming Sun continent. That He Yiqing is really surprising. He actually fought with Nangong Huahua for such a long time. Yeah, this He Yiqing is probably going to be ranked 6th, the strongest expert among the rank 8 transcendents. Nangong Huahua lost to Zhou Hai. Zhou Hai defeated Qianjun. I didn't expect that. The finals are here. As the battle progressed, the audience looked at the battle on the stage with excitement. The final battle, Xiaoyu versus Zhou Hai. Zhou Hai was originally a very low-key person among the 5. But he didn't expect that he would fight all the way to the end. Both of them are at the peak of Transcendent Level 9. It will take at least 10 minutes to decide the victor. In the center of the viewing platform, the City Lord of Flaming Sun City and the Dean of Flaming Sun Academy looked at the duel in satisfaction. They represented the Flaming Sun region. They did not want to be ranked behind in the first prodigy tournament of the Dragon Phoenix Empire. It was very embarrassing to say that. Haha, Zhou Hai, you're not my match. The top prodigy of the Flaming Sun region is mine. Haha, it's time to break through. At this moment, 2 figures separated from each other in the fierce battle below. Xiaoyu suddenly laughed maniacally, and her aura began to rise rapidly. What? Zhou Hai's expression changed slightly when he saw Xiaoyu's aura increase greatly. You're going to break through. Haha, that's right. I was about to break through 2 days ago. Today the time has come. I'll let you experience the power of a half-step void interpretation. Xiaoyu laughed maniacally, and with a movement, a terrifying power directly pressed down on Zhou Hai. Zhou Hai's expression changed greatly. The opponent's attack had doubled. With his strength, there was no way for him to block it. Boom! He gritted his teeth and received the opponent's punch. This time, his body was sent flying over 100 meters away. He felt a sweet taste in his mouth. What? Xiaoyu actually broke through. She actually reached the half-step void interpretation realm in the battle. My god! Xiao Yu actually broke through to the half-step void interpretation realm. This is simply too strong. When everyone around saw this scene, their faces were filled with shock. All of them stared at Xiao Yu with their eyes wide open. Good, half-step void interpretation, half-step void interpretation. On the main stage, the City Lord of Flaming Sun City and the Dean of Flaming Sun Academy saw this scene and revealed excited expressions as they laughed loudly. With a breakthrough, Xiao Yu would have the chance to compete for the title of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire's King of Geniuses. Xiao Yu. In the surrounding audience stands, those who supported Xiao Yu cheered excitedly. I admit defeat. Zhou Hai swallowed the blood in his mouth and said unwillingly. Haha, in the younger generation of the Flaming Sun continent, I, Xiaoya, am the strongest. Haha, I am the head of the chosen one. Xiaoya couldn't help but shout at the sky with excitement. In the entire Flaming Sun continent, he was the king of the younger generation. Domineering, Xiaoya is simply too domineering. This is the king of the younger generation of our Flaming Sun continent. Too cool. When the surrounding spectators saw the howling Xiaoya, all of them revealed smiles on their faces as they spoke in admiration. TSK, he's really a little arrogant. Such a heaven's favorite isn't considered a heaven's favorite. In a corner of the spectator stand, a youth said with slight disdain. These 10 youths are all pretty good. We'll recruit them over later. The old man said with a smile. Coming here this time was a pleasant surprise to him. Congratulations to the Dawn Moon Prodigy, the top prodigy of our Flaming Sun continent. He will lead the prodigies of our Flaming Sun continent to participate in the Dragon Phoenix Empire's prodigy competition. The remaining 9 prodigies will go up to the stage to receive their rewards. After wild cheers, the Flaming Sun Academy's dean stood up with a smile and said, It's the headmaster. One by one, the top 10 youths of the Flaming Sun continent flew onto the stage and enjoyed the brilliance of the attention of thousands of people. 10 youths stood in a row on the stage with strong confidence on their faces. 8 male students and 2 female students. Each person's face was filled with pride and pride. Today, you are the peerless geniuses of our Flaming Sun continent. The dean looked at the 10 young men in high spirits and shouted loudly. Absolute geniuses! Absolute geniuses! Around them, hundreds of thousands of spectators stood up and shouted in unison. Hee. They don't have the qualifications to be called absolute geniuses. The Dragon and Phoenix Empire also doesn't have the qualifications to hold the genius competition. What is a genius? Only those who use blood to fight their way out of the genius stage of the demi-human graveyard can be called a genius. All of you aren't qualified yet. At this moment, a mocking voice resounded in the surrounding sky, causing everyone to be slightly stunned. The youth from the Bloodstream sect slowly stood up. Chapter 1419. 1419. What was the chosen one? 5. All of you are not worthy yet. When the last sentence resounded in the sky above the competition ground, the noisy surroundings instantly quieted down. Everyone, a total of over 100,000 people, all looked towards the source of the voice. The youth from the Bloodstream sect stood there with a smile on his face. He did not pay any attention to the cold gazes of the people. Who is spouting nonsense here? On the stage, the tall and sturdy Qian Jun looked at the young man with a cold expression. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Haha, I'm not spouting nonsense. If I say that you're not worthy, then you're not worthy. At the very least, you're not worthy now. The young man laughed loudly. His body moved, and he directly flew towards the stage. He was dressed in a black robe and wore a robe, looking incomparably carefree. Facing everyone's gazes, his expression was still incomparably calm. His body moved, and he directly stood on the highest stage, smiling as he looked at the 10 geniuses of the Flaming Sun continent. On the main viewing platform, the City Lord and the headmaster of the Flaming Sun Academy frowned slightly, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. However, When the Flaming Sun City Lord looked towards the direction where the young man was flying towards, he furrowed his brows slightly, and his gaze flickered as he looked at the few middle-aged men and elders from the Bloodstream sect. Hehe, since you say that we aren't worthy of being called Heaven's Pride, then I would like to know what a Heaven's Pride is. Are you like this? Nangong Huahua giggled as she sized up the young man. A faint sneer flashed across her eyes. I don't deserve it. However, only someone like me can be called a Heaven's Pride. As Hellion who spoke, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he spoke arrogantly. Haha, arrogant. You said that we aren't worthy of being called a Heaven's Pride. Only you are worthy. Then I want to see what qualifications you have to be called a Heaven's Pride. On the arena, the face of the youth ranked 7th in the Flaming Sun continent revealed an ice-cold expression. As he spoke, his body moved, and like a gust of wind, he attacked Hellion who. A trash who has just stepped into the 8th level of transcendence wants to challenge me. When Hellion who saw the attacking youth, a disdainful expression appeared on his face. He waved his arm, and a gust of black wind directly swept towards him. What? When the black wind landed on the youth's body, his expression changed greatly, and a trace of fear appeared in his eyes. Bang! His entire body flew backward at an even faster speed. What? This is impossible. Ling Feng was actually killed in one move. That young man also looks very young. His strength is so strong. You have to know that even Qianjun and Zhou Hai couldn't kill Ling Feng so easily. What terrifying strength. Who is he? In the surrounding audience stands, when everyone saw Hellion who instantly kill Ling Feng with a single move, all of their faces revealed shocked expressions. Just like this, he still dares to call himself a Heaven's Pride? Hellion who watched Ling Feng fall heavily to the ground, and a trace of disdain and ridicule appeared on his face. You are too arrogant. The Blazing Sun Continent region's top Heaven's Pride competition's leader, Xiao Yu's gaze flickered as he stared at Hellion, who coldly took 2 steps forward. With a move of his arm, a blue longsword appeared in his hand. Young Master Xiao Yu is going to make a move. Young Master Xiao Yu has broken through to half-step void interpretation. That kid actually dared to show off in front of young Master Xiao Yu and crippled him. He dares to say that our Dragon and Phoenix Empire doesn't have the qualifications to hold the Prodigy tournament. Teach this kid a lesson. Young Master Xiao Yu, teach this guy who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth a lesson. In the surroundings, some of the spectators in the audience seats shouted loudly. City Lord. On the main viewing platform, the Flaming Sun Academy's principal frowned and shouted at the City Lord. Let's see what they want to do. The Flaming Sun City Lord's eyes flickered as he shook his head and watched with some solemnity. Hehe, more than 20 of the most powerful experts of the younger generation in the city have just broken through to the half-step void interpretation realm. Your strength is still not bad. Hellion who stared at Xiao Yu and commented indifferently. However, you're still a little bit away from becoming a Heaven's favorite. If you can receive intensive training in the future, you have a chance to become a Heaven's favorite. But for now you're not qualified enough. If you want to challenge me, you're not qualified either. Come on. You so-called top 10 Heaven's favorites of the Flaming Sun Continent region, attack together. Don't say it, I won't give you a chance. Arrogant guy. Let me tell you, this is not a place where you can be arrogant. You want to challenge all of us? Arrogant. As soon as Hellion whose words fell, the 10 young men of the Flaming Sun Continent region revealed angry expressions. Each of them instantly erupted with a terrifying aura and charged toward him. They were the 10 strongest people in the entire Flaming Sun continent, yet they were actually looked down upon by others. How could they not be furious? One person wanted to challenge the 10 of them. Your tone is quite arrogant. If I defeat you, I alone will be enough. Xiao Yu's face was also filled with anger. Her body moved, and the blue longsword in her hand directly stabbed towards him. To be honest, you don't even have the qualifications to challenge me. As Hellion who spoke, a bone fan appeared in his hand. He waved his arm, and a black wind blew, directly facing Xiao Yu. HMPH, You are the first one who dares to be arrogant in front of me. Xiao Yu's arm trembled, and several hundred densely packed blue water swords appeared around her. The longsword pierced through the air, emitting a sound like a waterfall. The two flying swords crossed together and rushed forward. You are just a frog at the bottom of a well, Helion Hu said with slight ridicule, and waved the bone fan in his hand several times. Roar! A fierce beast condensed from dark energy directly attacked the water swords. You have some skills. Seeing that his attack was easily blocked, Xiao Yu's heart slightly tightened. Divine ability, water moon in the sky. He shouted loudly, and a water blue demonic blue crescent appeared in front of him. Ripples appeared on the crescent, and each ripple was like a sharp sword, directly attacking Helion Hu. Water moon in the sky. This is young Master Xiao Yu's famous divine ability. It will definitely be able to defeat the other party. Teach him a good lesson. Let him know the consequences of being arrogant. Seeing Xiao Yu and the arrogant youth fighting fiercely, the spectators shouted loudly. Hee hee. The youth laughed disdainfully, waving the fan in his hand forward. Pitch-black spears pierced towards the crescent moon. Boom! A dull sound came from the collision. Following that, two pitch-black spears continued to attack Xiao Yu. What? Not good, Xiao Yu, be careful. The top 10 youths at the back quickly warned. Water seal. Cold sweat instantly appeared on Xiao Yu's forehead as streams of water formed a seal in front of him. The water seal completely enveloped him and protected him. Pong! The dark spears landed on the seal in front of him, and the entire defense shook violently. His body could not help but retreat to the back. Crash! In the end, the water seal collapsed, and the dark spear only disappeared. Xiao Yu, be careful behind you. Be careful. However, just as Xiao Yu thought that she had difficulty dodging the other party's attack, a cry of surprise came from the side. Hee hee, I said that you are still far from it, far from it. Helion Hu, who was standing in front of him, arrogantly looked down at him and said condescendingly. At this moment Xiao Yu, who was standing there motionlessly, had an incomparably pale face. He sensed behind him. A long dark spear stopped at the position of his back. A feeling of powerlessness surged into his heart. Chapter 1420. 1420. What was a prodigy? 6. This. Around the huge arena, when all the spectators saw Xiao Yu's back being pointed at by a black spear, their hearts tightened, and their faces revealed embarrassed expressions. This young man who came out to cause trouble had actually defeated Xiao Yu, the most outstanding young prodigy of their Flaming Sun continent region. Moreover, he had defeated him so easily I actually lost. Xiao Yu tightly clenched her fist, her expression unsightly as she stared at Helion Hu. Haha, the 10 of you together might be able to make me pay a little more attention, but you alone, hee hee. Helion Hu laughed lightly, his gaze sweeping over the 10 young prodigies of Xiao Yu, his face full of arrogance. This disciple of the Bloodstream sect, I wonder what your intention is in defeating the elites of the Flaming Sun continent. Are you showing off your strength? On the main viewing platform, the Flaming Sun City Lord slowly stood up and asked Helion Hu of the Bloodstream sect indifferently. What? The Bloodstream sect? That young man is from the Bloodstream sect. The Bloodstream sect is a powerful sect in the demi-human graveyard. It can be ranked in the top 3 among all the sects and sects. What are the disciples of the Bloodstream sect doing here? When the City Lord of Flaming Sun City's voice rang out, everyone was slightly shocked. They stared at Helion Hu with faces full of shock. This was because Flaming Sun City was only about 100,000 kilometers away from the demi-human graveyard. It wasn't too far away. They were still aware of a great sect like the Bloodstream sect. This was the true colossus within the demi-human graveyard. Even the current Dragon and Phoenix Empire was slightly weaker. Haha. Then let me introduce myself again. The Bloodstream sect, Helion Hu, is ranked 17th on the Prodigy roll. I also barely made it onto the Prodigy roll, unlike my senior brother, who is ranked 7th on the Prodigy roll. As Helion Hu spoke, His gaze looked towards a remote spot on the stage. His words shocked everyone once again, and they looked towards the stage with faces full of shock. Meng Wenbing, ranked 7th on the prodigy roll. A young man who looked somewhat old-fashioned streaked across a black shadow and directly landed beside Helian Hu. Ranked 17th on the prodigy roll. Ranked 7th on the prodigy roll. The prodigy roll seems to be a ranking on the prodigy stage in the demi-human graveyard. Those who can enter the prodigy roll are all peerless prodigies. Everyone in the audience stared at Helian Hu and the expressionless Meng Wenbing, their faces full of astonishment. What? You're only ranked 17th. On the arena, the 10 youths of the Flaming Sun continent stared at Helian Hu, their faces revealing an embarrassed expression. He was only ranked 17th, but he was actually so terrifying. Then, that black-clothed youth who didn't speak at the side was ranked 7th. Wasn't he even more terrifying? This made Xiao Yu and the others' faces extremely unsightly. That's right, we are the true heaven's favorites. Helian Hu saw their shocked expressions, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. In your place, you can never think of becoming heaven's favorites. Only by going to the true heaven's favorites battlefield, to the Ladyboy graveyard, can you all become the true heaven's favorites. Just like the prodigy competition, held by the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty. Hee, it would only make you laugh. If you really took it out, it would be a disgrace. His mocking voice resounded throughout the entire arena, and everyone could hear it clearly. This caused everyone's expressions to change slightly, and they felt somewhat embarrassed. They all knew that the prodigy stage of the transvestite tomb was the center of the entire Luhai region. As long as one ascended the prodigy stage, they would become the prodigies of the entire region, the prodigies of the tens of billions of people. The current prodigy competition held by the Dragon and Phoenix Empire was indeed on a different level from the prodigy stage. Now that they were directly ridiculed by a prodigy on the prodigy stage, their expressions kept changing. 2 members of the Bloodstream sect, watch your words. If you don't know what's good for you, I don't mind disciplining you elders. When the City Lord of Flaming Sun City heard Helian Hu's words, he spoke directly with a cold face. Haha, City Lord of Flaming Sun City, did the disciples of our sect say something wrong? A loud laughter was heard, and the other 3 members of the Bloodstream sect flew directly into the sky. 3 middle-aged old men with white hair stood in the middle. He stared at the City Lord of Flaming Sun City with a face full of smiles. A faint power was emitted from their bodies. The 3 people floating in the sky suddenly appeared above everyone's heads like a huge mountain. This caused everyone's breathing to stop, and shock appeared on their faces. This power feels even more terrifying than the City Lord. An old man muttered. The expression of the City Lord of Flaming Sun City changed slightly. Although he didn't know the 3 people from the Bloodstream sect, he could feel a terrifying power from their bodies. He wasn't a match for them. This caused the Flaming Sun City Lord's expression to become extremely grave. I wonder what your Bloodstream sect's large sect is doing in our Flaming Sun City. The Flaming Sun City Lord expressionlessly asked the old man. I'm just casually strolling around. I just happened to run into your competition. I feel that these 10 children aren't bad. The old man in the middle revealed a trace of a smile. His gaze swept over the 10 youths on the arena, as he said with a smile. Oh, what do you mean? The Flaming Sun City Lord slightly narrowed his eyes as he stared at the 3 people from the Bloodstream sect. Our Bloodstream sect is currently recruiting disciples. The 10 children on the stage have the qualifications to enter the Bloodstream sect. I wonder if you are interested? The old man glanced at the Flaming Sun City Lord, and the 10 people from the Daybreak Moon sect, who landed on the stage at the end, and suddenly said, What? The City Lord of Flaming Sun City was slightly startled. Even the 10 youths on the arena were completely stunned. They actually wanted to recruit them into the Bloodstream sect. This Bloodstream sect, we are citizens of the Dragon Phoenix Empire. They are the elites of our Dragon Phoenix Empire. They are not people that you can recruit just because you want to. The City Lord of Flaming Sun City growled in a low voice with a gloomy expression. Haha, our bloodstream sect is a sect. It has nothing to do with your dynasty. Moreover, our bloodstream sect is a top sect in the human demon graveyard. If you join us, we will give you more resources. The old man laughed and glanced at the young people of Daybreak Moon and the others. The true chosen ones can only be born in our bloodstream sect. The bloodstream sect actually wants to recruit Xiaoye and the others. This is the bloodstream sect. I never thought that they would actually want to recruit Xiaoye and the others. This. In the audience stands, everyone watched this scene in astonishment. The experts of the bloodstream sect actually personally invited them to join the bloodstream sect. This was the bloodstream sect. What is a heaven's pride? If you stay here, you will never be able to become a heaven's pride. Only by joining our bloodstream sect and stepping onto the heaven's pride stage will you be a true heaven's pride. Staying here is just like a frog at the bottom of a well. Helion, who stared at Xiaoyu and the others with a face full of smiles, and said with a smile. Helion, whose words made the 10 people's faces full of emotion. They were able to become the top 10 of the Flaming Sun continent region at such a young age. Which one of them did not have the heart of a powerhouse? They also wanted to become a true heaven's pride that looked down on the current generation. They also wanted to be as powerful as Helion, who, or even more powerful than him. The bloodstream sect was such a powerful sect's invitation, so they were naturally extremely moved. On the main viewing platform, the Flaming Sun City Lord saw the 10 hesitant young men, and his expression changed slightly. His expression was somewhat unsightly. The bloodstream sect was a top-tier large sect that had personally invited them and used the name of a heaven's pride to entice them. Which young man wouldn't be moved? Haha, heaven's favorite. What's a heaven's favorite? If I say you're a heaven's favorite, you're a heaven's favorite. Suddenly, a proud voice resounded through the sky. Chapter 1421. 1421 1421. Whoever I say is a chosen one will go up. Haha, a chosen one. What is a chosen one? If I say you are a chosen one, you are a chosen one. The arrogant voice was filled with confidence and arrogance. These words that everyone heard were extremely arrogant and entered everyone's ears. The voice caused everyone to be stunned. So arrogant. I said you are a heaven's favorite, and you are a heaven's favorite. What arrogance? Everyone looked towards the source of the sound. They wanted to know who it was that had such a tone. Hee. When Wang Xian saw everyone looking over, he flew towards the arena with a smile on his face. Feng Wuan and a group of girls followed behind and flew towards the arena. That is. The city lord of Flaming Sun City, who was standing on the main stage, saw the figures of Wang Xian and the rest. He stared at Feng Wuan, and his expression changed slightly. The dean of Flaming Sun Academy, who was standing at the side, also widened his eyes. The two of them did not hesitate at all, and flew towards the arena. Your Majesty. The two of them landed in front of Feng Wuan in the air. They bowed and greeted her respectfully. What? Her Majesty the Queen? The Queen of our Dragon Phoenix dynasty? The words of the Flaming Sun City Lord and the Flaming Sun Academy's dean caused everyone's faces to reveal shock. Greetings, Your Majesty the Queen. Some experts from the Flaming Sun City's families immediately stood up from the viewing platform and bowed as they called out. Greetings, Your Majesty the Queen. When all the citizens saw their queen, they also hurriedly stood up and bowed as they called out. I've always heard that Her Majesty visited US incognito. I didn't expect that she would actually come to our Flaming Sun City. Everyone knew about this legendary queen, especially in the past few months. The story of the queen visiting the city incognito, destroying the city lord, beheading the unscrupulous family, and serving the country, and the people spread to every city. What they didn't expect was that Her Majesty had actually come to Flaming Sun City. Greetings, Your Majesty the Queen. The 10 youths on the arena immediately half-knelt on the ground. The people of Feng Wuan and the others, who had faces full of shock, as well as the owner of the arrogant words. Wasn't this the group of people on the shore of Flaming Sun Lake that day? All subjects rise. Feng Wuan stood in the air, her hands slightly floating, and her voice entered everyone's ears. "It's the Queen!" The City Lord of Flaming Sun City took the lead and said, "The Dragon and Phoenix Queen." The elder from the Bloodstream sect slightly raised his brows when he saw the sudden appearance of Queen Feng Yuan. "Everyone from the Bloodstream sect, this is our Dragon and Phoenix dynasty. You have crossed the line by coming here to recruit disciples." Feng Yuan looked at the elder in the center and said coldly. At first, they were a little surprised when they saw a young man suddenly come out to cause trouble. When they saw that the Bloodstream sect was actually here to steal their genius young man, they naturally couldn't sit idly by. "Haha, Dragon Phoenix Queen, our Bloodstream sect is a sect, not a dynasty. There are no restrictions on the recruitment of disciples by the sect." The white-haired old man in the middle laughed loudly. "I don't care what sect you are from. This is the place for our Dragon and Phoenix Dynasty's prodigy competition. You are here to seduce our competition disciples. You are courting death." Meng Hong's body instantly erupted with a fierce aura as he directly charged toward the three people from the Bloodstream sect. "Ehe, don't be so violent." The white-haired elder in the center felt the aura from Meng Hong's body. He waved his arm, and an imposing aura directly struck back. Fifth level of the Profound Void tier. Meng Hong's expression changed greatly, and so did the expressions of the surrounding spectators. "What? Fifth level of the Profound Void tier? Any old man from the Bloodstream sect is already a fifth level of the Profound Void tier. Heavens, how can he be so strong? What a terrifying old man!" Everyone around exclaimed. Even the Flaming Sun City Lords and the others' expressions changed greatly. On the arena, the 10 people of Daybreak looked at the white-haired old man in shock, their eyes flickering. "Hehe, the prodigy competition? The prodigies that you have conferred cannot be called prodigies. Prodigies are honed and cannot be selected from the competition," the white-haired old man said indifferently, his gaze fixed on the 10 people of Daybreak and the others on the arena. "Only by joining my Bloodstream sect will you have a chance to become true prodigies." This caused the expressions of the 10 people from Daybreak Moon sect to change continuously. They were slightly moved. "Haha, heaven's favorites, whoever I say is." When Wang Xian heard the old man say the word, "heaven's favorites" again, he laughed out loud and said it again. If you say so, then so be it. You sure have a big mouth." When Helion, who heard Wang Xian's arrogant words, he glared at him and said with a cold smile, "You think too highly of yourself." The middle-aged man behind the white-haired old man stared at Wang Xian coldly and spat out 4 words. The 17th on the Heaven's Pride roll. When Wang Xian heard Helianhu's words, a faint smile appeared on his face. With a flick of his finger, a gray dot of light shot towards him. "How dare you attack me? You are courting death." When Helianhu saw a young man who was about the same age as him attacking him, a hint of killing intent flashed across his eyes. He waved the bone fan in his hand, and the dark energy instantly condensed into a fierce beast, directly attacking the gray light spot. "Not good. Be careful." Meng Wenbing, who had been expressionless the whole time, saw the gray light spot, and his face changed greatly as he warned. Helianhu's pupils also slightly shrank. Pung pung pung. When the gray light spot landed on the fierce beast condensed by the dark energy instantly dissipated. When the gray light landed on the bone fan in his hand, the fan collapsed instantly. Finally, the light landed on his body, causing him to fly backward. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face was extremely pale. 7th on the prodigy roll. Wang Xian looked at him expressionlessly. With a flick of his finger, he launched another attack at Meng Wenbing. Meng Wenbing had a serious expression on his face. With a move of his hands, a dark disc appeared in his hands. Bang! When the gray light spot landed on the dark disc, Meng Wenbing was horrified. The dark disc collapsed instantly. When the gray light spot landed on his body, he was sent flying and spat out blood. "You are courting death. How dare you attack the elite disciples of our Bloodstream sect?" The expression of a middle-aged man behind the white-haired old man changed drastically. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. An aura of the 3rd level of the see-through realm burst out instantly, A golden longsword appeared in his hand. Third level of the see-through realm. Wang Xian remained expressionless as he flicked his finger. The gray specks of light attacked the middle-aged man again. You are courting death. When the middle-aged man saw Wang Xian's contemptuous expression, he roared furiously. The long sword in his hand slashed directly at the specks of light. Bang! However, just like Helian Hu and Meng Wenbing, the longsword collapsed and the gray light spots landed on his body. His eyes were wide open and filled with disbelief. The powerful attack made him spit out blood. You are the nameless sword demon. The other middle-aged man behind the white-haired elder suddenly widened his eyes and exclaimed. Chapter 1422. 1422. When I say who is a Heaven's Pride expert, who is in the middle? You are the nameless sword demon. A cry of surprise came from the middle-aged man's mouth, causing the pupils of the old man in front of the middle-aged man to constrict slightly. The body of the middle-aged man and Helian Hu Meng Wenbing, who were lying on the ground, trembled. Their eyes were wide open, filled with disbelief. They had only rushed up to the Heaven's Pride ranking this year. They had never seen the true appearance of the nameless sword demon before. But they knew that there was a mountain on the prodigy roll. At the age of less than 30, he had ascended the prodigy roll, defeated the leader of the demonic beasts at the second level of the Insight Void tier, and ascended to the supreme prodigy. Later, before the nameless sword devil left, he did something that shook the entire demi-demon graveyard. He killed the fifth level of the Insight Void tier Bing Hanzi. This was the leader of the prodigies, the nameless sword devil. This was an existence that all the heaven's favorites looked up to. An existence that all the heaven's favorites could not hope to reach. Even if all the other heaven's favorites on the so-called heaven's favorites list were added together, they would not be able to instantly kill the nameless sword demon. Nameless sword demon, what is this? When some people around heard this exclamation, they frowned slightly. Some people were very confused by these 4 words. However, some of them were stunned. Their expressions kept changing as they stared at the people below. Nameless sword demon? What else? When Wang Xian saw that the middle-aged man recognized him, a faint smile appeared on his face as he asked mockingly. Nameless sword demon? Nameless heaven's pride? The supreme heaven's pride? The unrivaled young king, who looked down on the present generation? I didn't expect it. In the arena, Meng Wenbing, who was knocked down by Wang Xian with a flick of his finger, had a burning look in his eyes. He stood up slowly, and his body was trembling. His eyes were filled with admiration as he mumbled. Nameless sword demon. Unrivaled prodigy. Supreme prodigy. The unrivaled young king who looked down on the current generation. Stunned, the 10 youths from the waning moon heard Meng Wenbing mumble. Their eyes were burning with worship, and their faces were filled with shock. This was a peerless prodigy ranked 7th on the prodigy roll. They didn't know how strong 7th on the prodigy roll was, but Helian Hu, who was ranked 17th on the prodigy roll, had easily defeated them, making them feel powerless. The 7th-ranked Heaven's Pride roll was even more terrifying. However, looking at the way he worshipped them, they were in a daze. However, when they saw the 3rd-ranked see-through void martial artist who had fallen to the ground with a flick of his finger, they had some understanding in their hearts. The unrivaled young king who looked down on the current generation? Is there such a title? When Wang Xian heard Meng Wenbing mumbling, he was slightly stunned. He had such an amazing title. Not bad. However, what Wang Xian didn't know was that the name of the nameless sword demon represented the pinnacle of heaven's favorites. Which young heaven's favorites in the current era didn't have the nameless sword demon as their idol? Some fans even claimed that the nameless sword demon could even look down on the current era in the entire transcendental continent, not to mention in the flowing sea region. Hence, there was an additional title later on. He was the young king who looked down on the current generation. Nameless sword demon. The city lord of Flaming Sun City and the dean of Flaming Sun Academy were muttering to themselves. A name suddenly appeared in their minds. Lord Wang, I didn't expect you and Her Majesty the Queen to come here together. The city lord of Flaming Sun City, and the rest immediately bowed respectfully to Wang Xian. Lord Wang. Some of the experts from the families of Flaming Sun City muttered, as their pupils contracted slightly. The title of Lord Wang was very famous in the Dragon Phoenix dynasty. The families with some strength knew that the Dragon Phoenix dynasty was able to develop to this stage, not because of the Queen of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty. Although the Queen of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty was ambitious, and her strength had reached the 5th level of the Void Interpretation realm. The rapid rise of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty was all thanks to this Lord Wang. In Xiaoyao City, 2 5th-level Profound Void Martial Stage cultivators were killed, and the entire Xiaoyao City was destroyed. In the Dragon Phoenix dynasty, the real power was this Lord Wang's faction. His Majesty the Queen only had a very good relationship with him. Of course, they could only make guesses in secret as to whether they were lovers or not. Nameless Sword Demon, Nameless Heaven's favorite, Supreme Heaven's favorite. I remember now. Lord Wang is actually a Supreme Heaven's favorite. Oh my god. On the arena, Nangong Huahua suddenly stared at Wang Xian with burning eyes as she said excitedly, Huahua. A few young men, who didn't know, looked at her in confusion. First place on the Heaven's Pride ranking in the demi-human graveyard. First place on the demonic beast Heaven's Pride ranking as his mount. He killed a level 5 see-through void martial artist. Nangong Huahua said quickly. What? This? If they didn't know the significance of being number 1 on the prodigy roll, then killing a level 5 insightful void martial artist, they knew what it meant. Killing a level 5 insightful void martial artist. Xiaoyu swallowed a mouthful of saliva, his forehead full of cold sweat. This reminded him of 2 days ago, when he arrogantly wanted to spar with him. This fuck, he was courting death. I didn't expect little brother Nameless Sword Demon to be from the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. The white-haired old man's expression changed slightly as well. He took a deep breath and spoke slowly. He didn't dare to be unreasonable in the face of Wang Xian, who could kill a genius at level 5 of the see-through void tier. His current attitude was better than when he was facing Feng Wuan. What is a Heaven's Pride? Wang Xian glanced at the white-haired old man and ignored him. He floated in the sky and looked at the 10 young men and everyone around him. Then he asked loudly. Everyone looked at Wang Xian in unison. There was shock and respect in their eyes. Heaven's Pride is it? Whoever I say is a Heaven's Pride will be a Heaven's Pride. The top 10 in the Heaven's Pride competition held by the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. If I say they are Heaven's Pride, they are. An overbearing voice entered everyone's ears. When the white-haired old man saw that Wang Xian was ignoring him, his face darkened slightly, and he looked a little cold. Buzz! At this moment, a black longsword appeared in front of Wang Xian. This is the demon-free sword. I used this sword in the human demon graveyard to suppress the current generation. The champion of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire's Heaven's Favorites competition this time. I will gift this sword to him. The no-demon sword hovered in the air. It was just a simple void-piercing sword. However, this was the sword that the Nameless Sword Demon had once used. No demon sword. Meng Wenbing's eyes were burning as he stared at the black sword. In the eyes of the prodigies of the demi-human graveyard, this sword was a divine sword. This is so domineering. Prodigy, is this the supreme prodigy? This is too awesome. I even have the urge to submit. If I say that you are a Heaven's Pride, you are. Damn it, do you have to be so awesome? When everyone heard Wang Xian's words, they gulped and felt a little crazy. Perhaps this was the spirit of a king. However, with Lord Wang's status, whoever he says is a Heaven's Pride will be his. No one dares to refute him, because no one has the qualifications. Some of the powerhouses murmured. The white-haired elder pursed his lips and looked a little embarrassed. This person from the Bloodstream sect, do you have any objections? Wang Xian suddenly looked at the white-haired elder and asked. At the same time, he flicked his finger. A gray ball of light directly attacked him. Chapter 1423. 1423 1423. Whoever I say is the chosen one will be the next. He flicked his finger. It was still an ordinary flick of his finger. Just now, with a flick of Wang Xian's finger, Helian Hu, who was ranked 17th on the prodigy roll, was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Meng Wenbing, who was ranked 7th on the prodigy roll, was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Even an expert from the bloodstream sect, who was at the 3rd level of the see-through void tier, was sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. Now he flicked his finger again. However, the target this time was the white-haired elder. Everyone knew clearly about the strength of the white-haired elder. He was a top expert at level 5 of the see-through. When everyone saw that Wang Xian was actually attacking the white-haired elder with the same attack, they were all in a daze. Wasn't this a little too arrogant? When the white-haired old man from the bloodstream sect saw that Wang Xian was attacking him with his fingers, his expression changed slightly. His expression turned gloomy instantly as a hint of anger flashed in his eyes. "Nameless sword demon, you are too arrogant," he said with a cold expression as he stared at the fist-sized gray energy that was attacking him. Buzz! His arm moved and a white skull appeared in his hand. The white-haired old man moved his arm, and a skull shadow directly charged towards the gray energy. The skull looked like it came from hell, and was filled with gloom and terror. It was lifelike and extremely strange. This nameless sword demon is simply too arrogant. Even if you are as monstrous as a demon, it's completely impossible for you to defeat our Grand Elder with just a flick of your finger. Arrogant. Do you really think that you can wipe out the world with just one move? Our Grand Elder is on the same level as you. The two middle-aged men from the bloodstream sect watched as the Grand Elder took out his artifact and spoke with an ugly expression on their faces. Boom! The shadow of the dark black skeleton collided with the gray ball, resulting in a terrifying collision. Roar, roar! Suddenly, a terrifying roar came from within the dark skull. Wang! Just when everyone thought that something unexpected had happened, the roaring skull actually slowly dissipated. The gray ball continued to attack the white-haired old man. What? The white-haired old man's expression changed drastically, and the pale white skull in his hands was directly aimed in front of him. Ghost Devour! He let out a low roar, and a 10-meter large ghost instantly appeared on the pale white skull. The ghost emitted a ghastly and terrifying aura, causing everyone within a few kilometers to instantly feel their scalps go numb. Jia! The ghost let out a strange cry and tore towards the gray ball. Wang! Jia! The ghost's sharp claws landed on the gray ball, emitting a ghastly sound. This is impossible. However, under the incredulous gazes of the two middle-aged men from the bloodstream sect, the ghost slowly dissipated. The white-haired old man's gaze also focused. His pupils constricted slightly, and his eyes were filled with shock. The ghost quickly disappeared. He stretched out his hands and grabbed the pale white skeleton. Door of Darkness. A door of darkness filled with runes appeared in front of him. Bang! The gray ball landed on the door of darkness, emitting a terrifying collision sound. The collision in an instant actually almost caused the door of darkness to crack open. The white-haired old man's body shook, and dark energy surged towards the door of darkness. He stared at the gray ball in front of him, and his heart was extremely shaken. The terrifying power caused his body to fly backwards. After flying backward for 100 meters, the gray ball dissipated. The white-haired old man raised the door of darkness in his hand with an embarrassed expression. Hiss! The sound of gasps reverberated throughout the entire area. Everyone watched this scene in a daze. With a flick of his finger, the powerful 5th-level insightful void martial artist was only able to block it with 3 moves. Furthermore, under Wang Xian's casual attack, his body was forced back by more than 100 meters. Although he wasn't injured, the huge gap left everyone in shock. It was so terrifying. Do you have any objections? Wang Xian continued to stare at the white-haired old man with a calm expression and asked, "Whoever I say is a heaven's favorite is a heaven's favorite. Do you have any objections? The incomparably domineering aura caused the white-haired old man's expression to change drastically. He is definitely not an ordinary fifth-level void interpretation. In fact, he has already reached it. The white-haired elder looked at the indifferent Wang Xian, and his heart trembled. If this person in front of him had really reached that level, then the bloodstream sect coming to the Dragon and Phoenix Empire to snatch him away was simply courting death. Phew! The white-haired elder took a deep breath. Among the younger generation in the world, the only peerless heaven's favorite is the nameless sword demon. If you say that there are prodigies in this world, then there are prodigies in this world. If you say that there are no prodigies in this world, then there are no prodigies in this world. As he spoke, he slowly cupped his fists and bowed slightly. Respect. Boom. The entire audience of more than 100,000 was in an uproar. Oh my God, the white-haired elder from the bloodstream sect actually said such a thing. If you say that there are heaven's favorites in the world, then there are heaven's favorites in the world. If you say that there are no heaven's favorites in the world, then there are no heaven's favorites in the world. This evaluation, I'm going to kneel down and speak. Gulp, is this our Dragon Phoenix Dynasty's Lord Wang? This is simply heaven-defying. All heaven's favorites are decided by Lord Wang? One by one, the citizens stood up with their faces flushed red, their bodies slightly trembling. How strong was this Lord Wang to be able to make a powerhouse at level 5 of the see-through realm say such words? The 4 people from the bloodstream sect were also looking at their Grand Elder in shock. They were very clear about the temper of the Grand Elder. Now he actually said such words to a young man. This was no longer as simple as facing a powerhouse of the same level. Could it be? The eyes of the 4 of them sparkled, and their breathing was a little hurried. This was especially so for Meng Wenbing. His burning eyes were staring at Wang Xian with even more admiration. This tall mountain was even taller and bigger. Is this our Dragon and Phoenix Empire's Lord Wang? The supreme prodigy. Whoever he says is a prodigy will be a prodigy. The 10 young men from Daybreak Moon looked at Wang Xian, who was floating in the sky from the arena. Their faces were filled with yearning. This was a true Heaven's Pride expert. He was able to make experts from powerful sects bow down to him. The Dragon and Phoenix Empire's Heaven's Pride expert competition has Lord Wang overseeing it. This is a true Heaven's Pride expert competition. Feng Wan also looked at Wang Xian with slight astonishment. She didn't expect that Wang Xian would actually make a name for himself as a supreme Heaven's Pride expert and so on. With Lord Wang around, the Heaven's Pride expert competition is the Heaven's Pride expert competition. Disciples of our Flaming Sun Continent region, don't lose face for the Flaming Sun Continent region. The city lord of Flaming Sun City roared in a low voice, his eyes burning with passion. Yes, we will definitely give it our all in the Prodigy Tournament. The 10 people of Daybreak Moon City bowed and roared loudly. Their eyes were filled with fighting spirit. They looked at Wang Xian in awe, their eyes filled with determination. They wanted Lord Wang's approval. At this moment, Daybreak Moon realized that she was like an ant. Fortunately, Lord Wang did not haggle with him. He also wanted to be recognized by Lord Wang's proud son of heaven. Chapter 1424. Nameless Chosen One. A Supreme Chosen One. With a flick of his finger, even the supreme elders of the bloodstream sect had to go all out to deal with him. Just how strong is Lord Wang? Did you guys notice just now that Meng Wenbing's Chosen One was ranked 7th? His eyes were filled with worship as he looked at Lord Wang. He was almost going to kneel down. Our Lord Wang is a peerless Heaven's favorite who can suppress the same generation. Not to mention the same generation, even the older generation can't compare to our Lord Wang. The champion prize of this Heaven's favorite competition is the demon-free sword that Lord Wang once used. It would be great if I could get it. In the arena, the hundreds of thousands of spectators watched Wang Xian and their queen's departing figure as they spoke with faces full of shock. What happened today was shocking to all of them. The mysterious Lord Wang of their dynasty was actually the supreme Heaven's favorite on the Heaven's favorite list in the tomb of the transvestite. He even swept through everyone in the Bloodstream sect in a domineering manner. Even the Supreme Elder of the Bloodstream sect bowed and submitted. He was even more domineering when he said that whoever was the Heaven's favorite would be the Heaven's favorite. Such a monstrous appearance was imprinted in everyone's mind. The strength of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire had also exceeded everyone's expectations. I didn't expect you to make such a big name in the year that you left. In the mayor's residence, Feng Wuhan looked at Wang Xian with a smile and said, "Haha, it's fine, it's fine." Wang Xian smiled smugly. "Your strength has broken through again." Feng Wuhan looked at him and thought of how she almost caught the Grand Elder of the Bloodstream sect with a flick of her finger. She asked with a twinkle in her eyes, "I'm stronger than you." The corner of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly. "Look at you, you're still acting arrogant. Lord Supreme Heaven's pride. Have you been fooling around in the tomb of the demi-human?" Guan Shuqing and the other girls stared at him and asked with unfriendly gazes. "No, how is that possible?" Wang Xian shook his head immediately. "Sister Fengying, you met him in the cemetery. You tell him." The girls obviously didn't believe that a young man who was known as the Almighty wouldn't be fooling around. There was a girl who was on good terms with him and even confessed to him. As Zhang Fengying spoke, Wang Xian instantly felt waves of murderous gazes. "I'm so outstanding. It's normal for someone to pursue me. I didn't agree to it. If you don't believe me, you can ask Fengying if I didn't agree to it." Wang Xian was extremely eager to survive as he spoke hurriedly. Humph. However, the few girls clearly didn't believe in his character. This was especially so for Sun Lingxiu, Ajaya and Tang Yinxian. Speaking of which, the three of them were met by Wang Xian when he was away from home. And that was how it ended. The last time he left for more than a year, it was hard to say if he brought Zhang Fengying along with him. "Your Majesty, Lord Wang, the 5 people from the Bloodstream sect are here to pay a visit." At this moment, it was fortunate that the City Lord of Flaming Sun City walked in and changed the topic. "Bloodstream sect? Let them come over." Feng Wuhan nodded her head with a slightly cold expression and spoke to Flaming Sun City. "It's Her Majesty the Queen." Flaming Sun City Lord nodded. Soon, the Bloodstream sect's Grand Elder and the other 5 people walked in. "Dragon Phoenix Queen Lord Wang, sorry to disturb you." The 5 people led by the white-haired old man walked in and cupped their hands at them. "Everyone from the Bloodstream sect. Isn't it a bit too much to snatch people from our Dragon Phoenix Dynasty's competition grounds?" Feng Wuhan sat in the middle and looked at the white-haired elder as she questioned him faintly. "Dragon and Phoenix Queen, it's our Bloodstream sect's fault for being reckless this time. We have offended you." The white-haired elder bowed and looked at Wang Xian and Feng Wuhan as he apologized. He lowered his stance very much. He was filled with shock towards Wang Xian's strength and the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. The current situation of the demi-human cemetery was uncertain. If they were to offend the Dragon Phoenix Empire, which possessed the combat strength of level 6 of the Void Interpretation stage, it would definitely be extremely bad news for their Bloodstream sect. "Oh, your Bloodstream sect is also a great sect. If you want to recruit disciples, you wouldn't need the Grand Supreme Elder to come and snatch them personally, right?" Wang Xian looked at the white-haired old man's sincere look and asked curiously. The white-haired old man's strength was considered top-notch even in the graveyard of demi-humans. The reason why he could only receive 3 moves with a flick of his finger was because he had just broken through and his arm had been modified. After breaking through to the 2nd level of the Void Interpretation realm and comprehending the Dragon Kingdom in the aspect palm, his arm had received a huge improvement. This was why he was able to make the white-haired old man fight with all his might with a single finger. However, what made him curious was that such a powerful sect's supreme elder, the strongest expert, actually came here to snatch people. The general trend is changing, and our Bloodstream sect has no choice but to make preparations in advance. The white-haired old man smiled bitterly and said with a somewhat solemn expression, "The general trend is changing." Feng Wuhan revealed a surprised expression and gestured for them to sit down. The demonic beast race in the human demon graveyard has undergone a huge change. There are demonic beast races that want to establish an empire. The white-haired elder said with a sullen face. Establish an empire? Feng Wuan was slightly taken aback. Once the demonic beasts unite and develop, their strength won't be weaker than humans, or even stronger. The 10,000 Demon Empire is a good example. Tens of millions of demonic beasts, when they fight, they can destroy cities and overturn seas. It will be fine if they stabilize and grow up. It will be better if they are on good terms with humans. However, if they are evil to humans, it will be a bloodbath. It will be even bloodier than the current human demon graveyard. The white-haired elder nodded slowly. A worried look appeared on his face. Most importantly, the blood barbaric demonic beasts are the strongest now. Blood barbaric demon beasts? Wang Xian and Feng Wuan frowned slightly. The blood barbaric demon beasts had always fed on the fresh blood of humans and beasts. They were bloodthirsty, as if their lives depended on it. If they were to unify the demon beasts in the human demon graveyard, it would definitely not be good news for humans. What are the reactions of the few big countries in the human demon graveyard now? Feng Wuan asked with a frown. There's no action yet. The Blood Flow Empire is preparing to gather the strength of all the dynasties in the Flowing Sea region. We can't let them establish an empire. The white-haired elder said. Feng Wuan slowly nodded, her eyes flickering. Dragon and Phoenix Queen, if the Demon Beast clan really establishes an empire, it will have a greater impact on the various dynasties. Naturally, it will also have a great impact on our sect. Why don't we form an alliance? The white-haired old man looked at her and said with a smile. An alliance? Of course, there's no problem with that. As for how to form an alliance, we still need to discuss. Feng Wuan nodded. Young Master Wang Xian, is your strength now? The white-haired old man nodded with a smile on his face. He looked at Wang Xian and said. Before he could finish his sentence, he continued. Young Master Wang Xian, it would be even better if you can contact the Light Dragon Empire and Sky Sword Sect. Light Dragon Dynasty? Sky Sword Sect? Feng Wuan looked at Wang Xian in confusion. Hehe. The crown prince of the Light Dragon Dynasty was supported by young Master Wang. The only beloved daughter of the sect leader of Sky Sword Sect has a close relationship with young Master Wang. If we can pull these two forces together, the strength of our alliance will not be weaker than the Blood Flow Empire. The white-haired old man said with a smile on his face. However, very soon, he realized that the atmosphere around him had changed. Wang Xian's face turned black as he glared at the white-haired old man. Damn it! Chapter 1425. Hehe, young Master Wang's connections are so strong. I'll let young Master Wang contact the Light Dragon Dynasty and the Heaven Sword Sect. That's right, that's right. If he can even settle his daughter, wouldn't that mean everything would be easy to settle? As soon as the white-haired old man finished speaking, the voices of Guan Shuqing and the other girls rang out. They stared at Wang Xian with smiles on their faces. Their eyes were filled with sarcasm. When the white-haired old man saw this situation, as someone who had lived for more than 1,000 years, he naturally knew that he had said the wrong thing. However, his expression did not change as he picked up his teacup and took a sip. He was extremely calm. In fact, he even felt a little good in his heart. Serves him right. Ahem, I'm not too familiar with you. I'm not too familiar with you. Wang Xian coughed. Then regarding the matter of the alliance, I'll have to trouble you in a few days. Feng Wuan said to Wang Xian. I'll give it a try, I'll give it a try. Wang Xian felt a few unfriendly gazes and smiled awkwardly. Buzz. At this moment, the communication stone plate in his interspatial ring vibrated. Wang Xian took out the communication stone plate and looked at it. He raised his eyebrows slightly. There's something I need to take care of at the Dragon Palace. I need to make a trip there now. Wang Xian said directly to Guan Shuqing and the rest. What a coincidence. A few girls sized him up from head to toe. Really? Wang Xian took the communication stone plate. If you have something to do, you can go back first. Sun Lingxiu smiled and said to him, "We will go back after discussing some matters with the Bloodstream sect. If something happens at the Dragon Palace, you can go back first." Feng Wan also smiled at the side. "Okay, Ao Jian, you guys stay here and protect them." Wang Xian nodded and turned around to fly out. He slipped away. Guan Shuqing and Xiao Yu rolled their eyes when they saw Wang Xian's fleeing figure. Interesting. A powerful marine demonic beast race suddenly appeared near the Dragon Palace. It seems to be coming from the sea area around the human demon graveyard. Wang Xian flew into the sky and sped toward the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Gui had just sent a message. A group of powerful demonic beasts had appeared within the Dragon Palace's territory. Among the group of demonic beasts, there was an existence at level 5 of the See-Through Realm. Level 5 of the See-Through Realm. It seems to be a demonic beast in the human demon graveyard. This reminded Wang Xian of the recent changes in the human demon graveyard. Buzz. Wang Xian increased his speed and flew towards the Dragon Palace at an extremely fast speed. When his strength reached the Void Interpretation Realm, his speed was 10,000 to 20,000 child per hour, which was more than 10 times the speed of sound. This speed was already extremely terrifying. He couldn't even see a shadow. It took Wang Xian a full 10 hours before he returned to the sky above the Dragon Palace. Bang! After entering the Dragon Palace, Prime Minister Gui rushed over immediately. "Dragon King, what's the current situation?" Wang Xian asked Prime Minister Gui directly. "The demonic beast race hasn't moved yet. They are located 11,200 kilometers northeast of our Dragon Palace. A group of strange demons are monitoring them." Prime Minister Gui reported immediately. "Do you know what they are doing here?" Wang Xian asked with a twinkle in his eyes. "We don't know yet. Dragon King, should we make a move first?" Prime Minister Gui asked. "Call the warriors of our Dragon Palace over. We will go and take a look." Wang Xian said without hesitation. If they were enemies of a powerful demonic beast race, they would kill them immediately. The current Dragon Palace had 100% control over the surrounding sea area. If there were any unstable factors, they would either submit or die. The strong preyed on the weak. "It's the Dragon King." Prime Minister Gui nodded and swam to the side. Wuxia. Soon, the sound of a horn was heard from the Dragon Palace, and the members of the Dragon Palace quickly flew toward the Dragon Field. Clang, 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 clang. The sound of metal could be heard, and the demon monkeys holding golden cudgels appeared one after another. The thunder prawns, which were shining with blue light, had armor on their vital parts. Golden swordfish that were covered in golden armor and were emitting golden light. Heavenly Eye archers who were holding metal bows and wearing light armor. Dolphins and colorful sea snakes. 9 flood dragons that were 40 meters in size. Each member of the Dragon Palace contained a terrifying power. Compared to a year ago, they were now fully armed. Each of them was holding a Void Interpretation level weapon. They were wearing armor of the Void Interpretation level. Compared to the past, their combat strength had increased by at least 30%. One should not underestimate this 30%. Perhaps the current members of the Dragon Clan, with 6 to 7 members, at level 1 of the Void Interpretation level, could fight against a strong enemy at level 3 of the Void Interpretation level. In the past, they would need at least 10 of them. This was the powerful benefit of weapons. In just a short span of 10 seconds, more than 2,000 warriors of the Dragon Clan arrived at the Dragon Field in an orderly manner. The target is more than 10,000 kilometers away. Let's set off immediately. Wang Xian swept his gaze across all the members of the Dragon Palace. A satisfied expression appeared on his face as he shouted softly. "It's the Dragon King." All the members of the Dragon Palace shouted softly. Roar! Roar! The 9 flood dragons roared and pulled the dragon chair to the front. Wang Xian moved his body and sat directly in front of the dragon chair. The army of the Dragon Palace rushed toward the northeast direction. It was vast and mighty. Although there were only about 2,000 members of the Dragon Palace who followed him on this expedition, there were 1,000 insightful Void Realm experts. More than 2,000 creatures were equivalent to the combined forces of 30 to 40 dynasties. Even the insightful Void Realm experts of the Blood Flow Empire were only so many. The members of the Dragon Palace traveled at a very fast speed in the water. They could cover a distance of more than 10,000 kilometers in just a little over 2 hours. Reporting to the Dragon King, that powerful demonic beast race is located 50 kilometers ahead. When the army of the Dragon Palace arrived, Ao Yao, who had been scouting nearby, appeared in front of the army and reported to Wang Xian. Ao Yao, how is the opponent's strength? Wang Xian asked Ao Yao. Dragon King, the opponent is a wood elemental sea creature. There are 2 experts at level 5 of the Void Interpretation stage, 6 at level 4 of the Void Interpretation stage, more than a dozen at level 3 of the Void Interpretation stage, and more than 20 other Void Interpretation stage experts. Ao Yao reported directly. 2 level 5 Void Interpretation experts. Wang Xian mumbled, surround them directly. It's the Dragon King. The Demon War Division and the Thunder Division surrounded him from both wings. The 9 flood dragons pulled their thrones and continued to charge forward. In front of them was an area with dense seaweed. Seaweed that was 3 to 4 meters tall was swaying on the bottom of the sea. In the middle of the seaweed, more than 1,000 creatures were scattered around. This was an extremely beautiful demon beast. It had colorful colors, just like beautiful seaweed. It had colorful eyes. If they stood there without moving, they would think that it was a special undersea plant. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. More than 1,000 colorful demon beasts were moving within a radius of 10 kilometers. Suddenly a special language was transmitted. So. Following that, in the center, a 5 to 6 meter long demonic beast with a beautiful head floated in the middle of the ocean. Its eyes were filled with vigilance. A special sound was emitted from its body, causing all the surrounding demonic beasts to float in the ocean. Its eyes were filled with coldness. Chapter 14:26. Colorful demonic beasts floated in the sky and scanned their surroundings coldly. In the center, the leader of the demonic beasts, who was 5 to 6 meters tall, stared at the area in front of him with a cold expression. Which force are you? The leader of the demonic beasts in the center spoke in human language and asked coldly, what kind of demonic beasts are you? Why did you intrude into the territory of the Dragon Palace? 9 flood dragons slowly appeared in the sight of the demonic beasts. Around them, demonic monkeys and thunder prawns slowly surrounded them. Wang Xian sat on the dragon throne. His gaze swept across the demonic beasts in front of him, as he asked indifferently, what are you trying to do by surrounding us? A demonic beast swayed its colorful body as it shouted sternly, shut up. You are not qualified to let the 2 leaders speak. Whoosh! Mao Zedong's cold voice sounded. A terrifying arrow swept up the seawater and headed straight for the demonic beast. The powerful force caused the faces of all the members of the demonic beast clan to change drastically. Whoosh! 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 The expression of a demonic beast not far away from the leader of the central demonic beast clan changed slightly. His body size was similar to that of the leader of the central demonic beast clan. When he saw the incoming arrow, his pupils constricted slightly, and his entire body fluttered. One by one, seaweed shot into the sky and coiled around the arrow. Boom! A violent explosion sounded in the middle of the area. Even though it was more than 20,000 meters deep at the bottom of the sea, waves of water were still surging. The expression of the demonic beast who spoke earlier changed drastically. His eyes were filled with fear. We are a race of colorful algae demonic beasts. I didn't know this was the land of your dragon palace. How offensive. When the leader of the demonic beasts who was floating in the middle saw the explosion in front of him, his expression changed slightly. He swept his gaze across the members of the Dragon Palace who were surrounding them, and spoke to Wang Xian warily. Are you guys from the human demon graveyard? Wang Xian looked at this demonic beast race with great interest, and asked with a smile. Yes, if our species of colorful algae demonic beasts disturb you, we will leave immediately. The leader of the colorful algae demonic beasts said with a twinkle in his eyes. The entire sea area, apart from the human demon graveyard, is already under the control of our dragon palace. Wang Xian stared at the leader of the colorful algae-like demonic beasts, and continued with a smile. I'm very curious. What happened in the human demon graveyard that made you guys come here? Did you come here to hunt other demonic beasts or? These matters don't seem to have anything to do with you guys. The leader of the colorful algae-like demonic beasts said directly with an unpleasant expression. Boom. As soon as he finished his sentence, the surrounding members of the Dragon Palace raised their weapons and unleashed all of their auras. There were more than 1,000 insightful emptiness realm experts, and more than 1,000 half-step insightful emptiness realm experts. When this aura came pressing down on the more than 1,000 colorful algae demonic beasts, the entire space froze. The pupils of the more than 1,000 colorful algae demonic beasts contracted slightly as they swayed their bodies in panic. Even the leader in the middle was trembling slightly. Wang Xian stared at the leader of the colorful algae demonic beasts and smiled. Look at your own situation. If we want to destroy you, it will be easy. Phew. The leader of the colorful algae took a deep breath. With an embarrassed expression, he lowered his head slowly. There's a huge change in the human demon graveyard. A group of demonic beasts are fighting. The blood barbaric demon beast race wants to establish an empire. All the demon beast races will join the empire. Some demon beast races don't want to be controlled. They don't agree. They want to establish an empire. Each race will establish their own empire, but a few top-tier demon beast races don't agree. A few top-tier demon beast races are fighting for the throne of the empire. It's a mess. They've only stabilized a little in the past few days, but the result is not what we, the second-tier demon beast races, want to see. That's why I brought my clansmen here and prepared to hide. As the leader of the colorful algae demonic beast spoke, he raised his head and looked at Wang Xian. Finally, he said, we didn't mean to offend you. Establish an empire? Empire? Then, what was the situation in the human demon graveyard before you left? Wang Xian asked in puzzlement. A few major races have established an empire. The strong ones will sit on the throne, and all the demonic beasts will be able to participate. The strong ones will be respected. The leader of the colorful algae demonic beasts said with a serious expression. Oh, that's very fair. The strong ones will be respected. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and said with a smile. It was very fair to the top-tier demonic beast races. However, it was not very fair to the rest of the demonic beast races. Once the empire was established, the rest of the demonic beast races would become subjects. There were nearly 100 demonic beast races of various sizes in the human demon graveyard. As he spoke, his gaze swept across all the members of the colorful algae-type demonic beast race. His eyes sparkled. The strength of the demonic beast race that came from the human demon graveyard was only inferior to those top-tier races. There were more than 1,000 members. The weakest among them was at level 7 of the supernatural realm. If he could subdue them, it would greatly enhance the strength of the Dragon Palace. Since you guys from the colorful algae-type demonic beast race have come out from the human demon graveyard, why don't you join our Dragon Palace? Wang Xian said with a smile. What? That's impossible. We will definitely not listen to anyone's orders. The two colorful algae demon beasts, who were at level 5 of the see-through realm, roared furiously when they heard Wang Xian's words. I can bring you guys to the Dragon Palace to take a look. After that, you can make your choice. It's useless to reject now. Wang Xian looked at them with a smile. All the members of the Dragon Palace were closing in on them by a few hundred meters. Their intentions were very obvious. If they didn't agree, then they would take action. This made all the members of the colorful algae demonic beast clan look extremely embarrassed. The leader of the colorful algae demonic beast scanned his surroundings, and his heart sank. They had really entered the dragon's lair the moment they were out of the tiger's den. All right. The leader of the colorful algae demonic beast had no idea what to do. He replied with an embarrassed expression. All right, follow us. Don't think of escaping. As Wang Xian spoke, he waved his arm, and the 5 elements millstone appeared in the ocean. Buzz. The 5 elements millstone covered an area of 2 kilometers and enveloped the entire multicolored algae demonic beast clan. What is this? What a terrifying force. That human is so strong. The members of the colorful algae beast group were shocked when they saw the 5 elements grinding mill above their heads. The leader of the colorful algae beast group also narrowed his eyes and glanced around helplessly. It was over. Go! Roar! 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 The 9 flood dragons roared and flew toward the dragon palace. A powerful beast clan didn't even have the strength to resist the power of the dragon palace. After that, they could only survive if they joined the dragon palace. The expansion of all the forces was filled with tyranny and blood. The dragon palace was the same. However, it might not be a bad thing for the colorful algae demon beast clan. Chapter 1427. Oh my god, what is this? This is the Dragon Palace, the palace of this force? This is simply too majestic. In the Flowing Sea region, there is actually a palace that is even more magnificent and majestic than the human demon graveyard. When all the members of the multicolored algae demon beast race came to the front of the Dragon Palace, all of their clansmen widened their eyes and stared at the building in front of them in disbelief. The building was 500 to 600 meters tall, and the dragon gate was enormous. The energy was terrifying. The area of this towering building was more than 100 kilometers. The main hall of the human demon graveyard was not so big and magnificent. Dragon King, Prime Minister Gui, who had rushed here after hearing the news, was full of smiles. He glanced at the more than 1,000 prisoners, and the smile on his face grew wider. Hello everybody. Allow me to introduce myself. I am the head butler of the Dragon Palace, Prime Minister Gui. The one on the dragon chair is our Dragon King. As you can see, this place is our Dragon Palace. It covers an area of 150 kilometers. There are dragon caves in the Dragon Palace that are 30 times more habitable than those in the outside world. Every member of the Dragon Palace can have a dragon cave. In addition, there is a dragon field that can improve one's comprehension by 16 times. It is enough for 100,000 members of the Dragon Palace to cultivate together. Right now, there are more than 6,000 members of the Dragon Palace, of which about 1,500 are at the profound void level. First of all, I would like to invite you to join the Dragon Palace and become a member of the Dragon Palace. Of course, you all know what will happen if you don't join. Prime Minister Gui glanced at all the members of the colorful algae demon beast clan and said with a smile, What, 32 times the cultivation speed? 16 times the comprehension speed? How is this possible? Even some important places in the human demon graveyard don't have such a perverse effect. Impossible. How can there be such a perverse place? How cunning. They want to deceive us. The colorful algae demon beasts roared in disbelief when they heard Prime Minister Gui's words. There's no need for me to deceive you. Leaders, what do you think? Prime Minister Gui looked at the 2 colorful algae demon beasts with a smile. Do we still have a choice? The 2 colorful algae demon beasts looked at each other and said helplessly. They were completely defeated this time. They didn't want to die just like that. Alright everyone, let's start to break through the dragon gate. It's not easy to join our dragon palace. Only by breaking through the dragon gate can you guess that you are qualified to be a member of our dragon palace. Prime Minister Gui said with a smile. What? Break through the dragon gate? The members of the colorful algae demon beasts were stunned. Then they looked at the huge entrance of the dragon gate. Okay, I'll go first. The leader of the colorful algae demon beast swayed his body and flew toward the entrance of the dragon palace. Buzz! When he rushed into the dragon gate, he instantly felt a huge impact. His face changed slightly. He gritted his teeth and rushed over. When he entered, he was stunned. Okay, the future subjects of the Dragon Palace, come in. Seeing their leader enter the palace, Prime Minister Gui said with a smile on his face. Buzz, buzz, buzz. My God, the spiritual energy is so dense. I feel like I am completely bathed in the spiritual energy. Wow, what level of heavenly paradises is this? When the colorful algae demon beasts entered the palace, they finally understood what the real fragrance was. It was a warning of true fragrance. All of them stared blankly at the majestic interior of the Dragon Palace and felt the spiritual energy inside. Dragon King. Wang Xian walked in with a smile on his face. The group of colorful algae demonic beasts immediately knelt on the ground and shouted. Once they entered the Dragon Palace, they would be imprinted with the imprint of the Dragon Palace. The Dragon King would be the main one. Dragon King, these are all the treasures of our colorful algae demonic beasts. At this moment, the leader of the multicolored algae demonic beasts walked to Wang Xian's side and handed over more than a dozen interspatial rings. Wang Xian took them and looked inside. Spiritual liquid, so much spiritual liquid. When he saw the huge vat of spiritual liquid in one of the interspatial rings, his eyes widened slightly. This spiritual liquid could be converted into at least 10 billion dragon crystals. At least 10 billion. Now, he needed 100 billion dragon crystals to upgrade his level. Now there was 10% of it. This made Wang Xian's eyes filled with surprise. Dragon King, this is the treasure that our colorful algae demonic beasts have been storing for 5,000 to 6,000 years. The leader of the colorful algae demonic beasts replied respectfully to Wang Xian. Prime Minister Gui, how much dragon blood is left in the dragon pool? Wang Xian asked Prime Minister Gui. There are still some spare parts. They can totally upgrade the 10 members of the Dragon Palace to the insightful emptiness realm. Prime Minister Gui replied. The reward will be given to the multicolored algae demonic beasts. In the future, according to your abilities, you will be divided into a separate combat division. Wang Xian said to them. Thank you, Dragon King. The leader of the multicolored algae demonic beasts thanked him immediately. Follow me. Wang Xian nodded and led the multicolored algae demonic beasts towards the dragon pond. However, when more than 1,500 members of the multicolored algae demonic beasts entered the Dragon King's hall, their bodies froze. Following that, more than 1,000 pairs of eyes looked towards the dragon throne. That is, Dragon King, why do I feel like we have encountered a treasure that is very precious to us? We can feel a huge attraction coming from ahead. The leader of the colorful algae-like demonic beasts said to Wang Xian with a trembling body. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the area. The colorful algae-like demonic beasts seemed to be possessed. He looked at the position of the dragon throne above the Dragon King's palace. His gaze landed on the ancestral tree that he had obtained on Earth. The mysterious ancestral tree. In the past, the ancestral tree was only the size of a palm and had entered his heart. Ever since the Dragon Palace was established, it had been rooted at the position of the dragon throne. Now the ancestral tree was more than 10 meters tall, and there were a few more bright branches on it. Endless wood branches. Soul-returning wood branches. Evergreen tree branches. Each of these branches had powerful abilities. As for the effects of the mysterious ancestral tree, it was still unknown. The colorful algae demon beasts belonged to the wood element, and the ancestral tree was the strongest treasure in the world to them. Dragon King, can you let us get closer? The leader of the multicolored algae demonic beasts asked with a hint of longing. Sure. Wang Xian looked at all the members of the multicolored algae demonic beasts with a little surprise and nodded his head. Thank you, Dragon King. The leader of the multicolored algae demonic beasts nodded his head slowly. His face revealed a look of worship. He walked forward step by step while the rest of his clansmen followed behind him. When he was 200 meters away from the dragon throne, the colorful algae demonic beast trembled and knelt on the ground. All the clansmen of the colorful algae demonic beast clan knelt down and worshipped the ancestral tree devoutly. Buzz! Under Wang Xian's shocked gaze, the main trunk of the ancestral tree shook slightly. Waves of energy filled with vitality flew towards them. Rustle! Following that, the endless wood on the ancestral tree trembled slightly. The beautiful sparks also flew towards the colorful algae demonic beasts. Chapter 1428. In the Dragon King's palace of the Dragon Palace, the ancestral tree was trembling gently. The branches of the tree were swaying gently. Terrifying life force energy and starlight-like sparks landed on the body of the multicolored algae demon beast. This is... Wang Xian looked at this scene in astonishment. His face was filled with shock. The sparks landed on the body of the multicolored algae demon beast, making it even more resplendent. Waves of special energy were emitted from their bodies. Wang! At this moment, the changshu on the ancestral tree also slowly floated. Waves of energy were suspended in the air above the 1,500 multicolored algae demon beasts. Roar, roar! A low roar came from the mouth of the multicolored algae demon beasts. Waves of emerald green energy slowly condensed into a branch in their bodies. 2 arms slowly appeared on the branch. One of the arms was emerald green, while the other arm was glowing red. Evolution. And it's a dual attribute. Wang Xian's eyes were glowing. At this moment, he realized that the information about the multicolored algae demon beast had undergone a huge change. Starwood Dragon Seed. The name had changed. The light-pricking dragon seed and the dark and light attributes are the strongest assassination dragon seed of the Dragon Palace. The fire gold dragon seed has dual attributes. It's the strongest forged dragon seed of the Dragon Palace. This Starwood Dragon Seed is a dragon seed that evolved from the mysterious ancestral tree. Perhaps, it will become another peak dragon seed in the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian mumbled as excitement appeared on his face. This was a pleasant surprise. Boom! 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 At this moment, waves of aura burst out from the bodies of the Starwood Divine Dragons. They had a breakthrough. At this moment, at least 700 to 800 Starwood dragon species had a breakthrough in their cultivation. Among them, what made Wang Xian even more surprised was that the leader of the colorful algae demonic beasts in the past had also achieved a breakthrough. The powerful aura caused him to float slowly. Compared to the past, his colorful body was like condensed seaweed. The current him had a human-like head, a mahogany-like body and 2 arms. However, they still didn't have legs. Their legs were like branches. The former leader of the gorgeous algae demonic beasts was filled with excitement. He bowed to the ancestral tree and immediately went to Wang Xian and knelt down. Thank you, Dragon King, for giving us the colorful algae species an opportunity to evolve into Starwood dragon species. After he finished his sentence, the rest of the Starwood dragon species quickly knelt down and bowed. Get up! Wang Xian revealed a smile and looked at the leader of the Starwood dragon species. In the future, I will bestow you with the name Ao Xingmu and lead your Starwood dragon species in the future. Thank you, Dragon King, for the name. Thank you, Dragon King. Ao Xingmu thanked him excitedly. Now that you have achieved a breakthrough in your strength, how many levels above you can you fight? Wang Xian looked at him and asked curiously. A peak combat dragon species could fight 2 levels above them. If Ao Xingmu could fight 2 levels above him, he would be able to fight against an 8th level void interpretation. This was a little terrifying. Even he was not his match. Dragon King, we can only fight 1 level above him. The fire elemental energy in our bodies can only be fully integrated and utilized when we become gods. However, I should be able to kill a level 7 demon beast of the see-through realm now. Ao Xingmu said to Wang Xian. Kill a level 7 demon beast of the see-through realm? That's strong enough. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled. He didn't expect that the colorful algae demon beasts that forced him to join the Dragon Palace would bring him such a big surprise. Of course, This was also really fragrant to the colorful algae demon beasts. Oh right. Are there any level 7 demon beasts of the see-through realm in the human demon graveyard? A ray of light flashed across Wang Xian's mind. He narrowed his eyes slightly and asked Ao Xingmu. No. The strongest demonic beasts in the demi-human cemetery are demonic qilin and blood savage beasts. During this time of turmoil, another bloodthirsty sea demonic beast appeared. Among these 3 demonic beast races, there is only one at level 6 of the see-through realm. When the turmoil broke out, all the demonic beast races used up all their treasures to increase their strength. Currently, there are about 6 to 7 demonic beasts at level 6 of the see-through realm. At most, there are less than 10 of them. Ao Xingmu said. Then, if you bring all your subordinates over, do you have the confidence to become the king of the demonic beasts in the human demon graveyard? Wang Xian's eyes sparkled with a fiery glow. Dragon King, if I bring my clansmen back, I will definitely be able to wipe out all the demonic beasts and become their king. Ao Xingmu said confidently. Haha, good. Wang Xian's eyes were filled with excitement. Then, I will give you a task today. When the demonic beasts establish their dynasty, you will take the throne. Yes, Dragon King. I promise to complete the task. Ao Xingmu replied immediately. Lady Ao, bring the new members of the Dragon Palace around the Dragon Palace and rest for a few days. Then, we will return to the human demon graveyard. Wang Xian said with a smile on his face. With the appearance of Ao Xingmu, Wang Xian could now set up the entire Luhai region. The demonic beasts were in turmoil and wanted to establish a dynasty. If he could control this dynasty, coupled with the power of the Dragon Palace, he could totally be invincible in the Liuhai region. At that time, even if it was the Bloody Dynasty, he could destroy it with a single sentence. Prime Minister Gui, call the leaders over later to talk about the future development of our Dragon Palace. Wang Xian said to Prime Minister Gui with a smile on his face. It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gui nodded with a smile. For the next few days, Wang Xian stayed at the position of the Dragon Palace. Blood Emperor, it's been more than 2 months. When are we going to settle the matter that you promised us? In the sky above a 1,000-meter-tall palace, in a cluster of palaces. The interior of the palace was resplendent, exuding a thick and luxurious aura. The 2 old men looked at an old man with his back facing them, and spoke with slight displeasure. There's no need to be anxious. The Blood Flow Empire will do as we promised. If it wasn't for the chaos on the demonic beast side, your matter would have been resolved long ago. The old man with his back facing them slowly turned his head. His tall figure and square face were filled with dignity. We also know about the matter on the demon beast side, but the demon beast clan has gradually calmed down. I will also summon all the dynasties and forces in the Luhai region to fight against the demon beasts. An old man was interrupted by the Blood Emperor as he spoke indifferently. Then, Blood Emperor, what do you mean? When we summon all the forces here? As the old man spoke, he suddenly raised his eyebrows and asked with a smile on his face. I will definitely do what I promised you. However, I hope that the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop will stand on our side in the upcoming battle. Haha, of course there won't be any problems. Chapter 1429. Within the Ladyboy graveyard, everyone could feel a solemn atmosphere. Everyone knew that the once-in-a-thousand-year revolution in the Luhai region was about to begin. A special atmosphere slowly spread throughout the Luhai region. In the past, there were 60 to 70 dynasties in the Luhai region. Now, after the rise of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty, there were more than 40. However, what the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty didn't know was that a conspiracy against them had already begun. Wang Xian, regarding the matter of forming an alliance, we need to take a trip out. On the 5th day, Feng Wuan called Wang Xian over. In the palace of the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty, there was an old man, Sect Master Yi, the leader of the Bloodstream sect. Shall we go together? Wang Xian nodded slightly at Sect Master Yi and asked Feng Wuan. This is an urgent matter. The Bloodstream Empire has issued an order for all the dynasty-level forces in the Luhai region to head to the imperial city of the Bloodstream in 7 days. Feng Wuan said to him, the reason why we are joining forces is not to target any force. Instead, it is to gain a firm footing in the upcoming war and not suffer any losses. Sect Master Yi looked at Wang Xian and sized him up. May I ask, young Master Wang Xian, what is your current strength? I can fight someone at the 6th level of the see-through realm. Wang Xian did not hide anything and said with a smile on his face. Now there was no need for him to hide his strength. That was because he had an even bigger trump card, Ao Xingmu. In addition, in order to deal with the following matters, the spiritual liquid brought by Ao Xingmu, and the rest was consumed by Wang Xian. It increased the strength of Ao Yao by a level. Now Ao Yao, who was at level 4 of the see-through void tier, could similarly kill a level 6 see-through void tier. With these 2 trump cards, it wouldn't matter even if his strength was exposed. Even though sect leader Yi was mentally prepared, his pupils still shrank when he heard Wang Xian's words. I'm really old. A peerless heaven's favorite of a generation. Even old fellows like us can't catch up. Sect Master Yi shook his head and said with a smile. Haha, Sect Master Yi is too modest. When are we going? Wang Xian asked with a smile. Let's set off immediately and try to convince the Light Dragon Dynasty and the Heaven Sword sect within 2 days. This way, we can have some say in the Blood Flow Empire. Feng Wuan stood up and gestured to Wang Xian. All right. He nodded without any objections. His plan was his plan. As for the humans, he still had to help Feng Wuan. The Blood Flow sect and Feng Wuan wanted to join forces. If a war broke out in the future, they wouldn't have to be used as chess pieces and be manipulated by the Blood Flow Empire. If they could join forces with a few major factions, they could be on equal footing with the Blood Flow Empire. This would reduce their losses. Then let's go. The Light Dragon Empire is the closest. It's only 130,000 to 40,000 kilometers away. After that, we'll head to the Heavenly Sword sect. Chifi stood up and said, let's go. The 3 of them flew straight into the sky, without bringing any subordinates. Chifi stepped on a giant sword that was half a meter wide. A pair of fiery red wings grew out from Feng Wuan's back. Come to my place. We'll be faster. Wang Xian looked at them and smiled. He took out the 5 elements millstone. The 5 elements millstone expanded to a radius of 20 meters and floated in the sky. Chifi smiled at Wang Xian and stood up. The relationship between the Bloodstream sect and the Bloodstream Empire was not very good. It was what he wanted to see the most to be able to form an alliance. This was especially after he learned that Wang Xian was also a powerhouse at level 6 of the see-through realm. One must know that there were only 3 to 4 powerhouses at level 6 of the see-through realm in the entire Bloodstream Empire. Feng Wuan sat cross-legged beside Wang Xian. The 3 of them flew rapidly towards the Light Dragon Empire. After flying for more than 10 hours, Chifi was slightly shocked when he saw that Wang Xian did not need to rest at all. The territory of the Light Dragon Empire is ahead. Their imperial city is not far from here. Coming to an area where the cities were slightly denser, Manager Yi said to Wang Xian. Okay. Wang Xian nodded his head and sped up slightly. Let's go straight to the Imperial Palace. A huge city appeared in their sight. The huge moat was spectacular. Let's go straight to the Imperial Palace. Sect Master Yi said with a smile as he looked at the Central Imperial Palace. With their status, there was no need for them to ask for permission to enter the Imperial Palace of the Light Dragon Dynasty. They flew straight to the Royal Palace. The defensive formation of the Royal Palace couldn't stop them at all. Buzz! After passing through the defensive formation of the Royal Palace, they flew toward the Royal Palace at a terrifying speed. The guards of the entire Royal Palace couldn't react in time. Brother Long Xiaotian, a friend is here to pay a visit. King of the Radiant Dragon Empire. We have something to discuss. When they arrived in the sky above the radiant dragon empire, Wang Xian gave a light shout, and a smile appeared on his face. Although his relationship with Long Xiaotian was relatively good, it wasn't very good when compared to the radiant dragon empire. After all, he had once killed the crown prince of the radiant dragon empire on the spot. Who dares to make a ruckus in our royal palace? An angry shout came from below the royal palace, and many insightful emptiness realm experts soared into the sky. At this moment, in the imperial study room in the royal palace, Long Xiaotian and a few ministers were standing in front reporting to the king of the radiant dragon empire. When he heard this voice, Long Xiaotian was slightly stunned. He was filled with astonishment. A hint of anger flashed across the king of the radiant dragon empire's face. If Wang Xian wasn't too strong, he would definitely take revenge for the death of his son. The king of the radiant dragon empire moved and appeared in the sky. Oh, sect leadery? When the king of the radiant dragon empire was floating in the sky, he saw Wang Xian and the other two. His gaze landed on the sect leader of the Bloodstream sect, and he was astonished. You are the one who killed my grandson. How dare you come to my light dragon empire? You are courting death. Suddenly, an old man rushed out from below. A 1,000-meter-long light sword attacked Wang Xian directly. Ha! Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly. The 5 elements grinding mill beneath him moved slightly, and a wisp of gray energy swept toward the light sword. With a sweep, the light sword disappeared. Guanglong Empire, we have something important to discuss with you. Don't bring about your own destruction. Sect Mastery frowned slightly when he saw that the experts from the Guanglong Empire dared to attack directly. Sect Master Yi, what is there to discuss? The king of Guanglong Empire's pupils contracted slightly when he saw Wang Xian easily wiping off his father's attack. He said solemnly, "This is the queen of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire, regarding the future of the blood flow region. As for young Master Wang, you should know that we are not enemies." Sect Master Yi said faintly, "The queen of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire?" The king of Light Dragon was slightly taken aback. He had heard of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire, which had recently risen in the distance. He was filled with fear towards this empire. There were many more cities under the Dragon Phoenix dynasty than there were under the Light Dragon dynasty. Come to our imperial study and talk. Chapter 1430. 6th level of the Void Interpretation Stage. This. In the imperial study room of the Guanglong Palace, the king of the Guanglong Kingdom, and a few top-notch experts of the Guanglong Kingdom, were sitting in the imperial study room. Everyone was looking at Wang Xian, and the other 2 people who were sitting in a row in shock. Even Long Xiaotian, who was sitting at the side, widened his eyes. King of the Guanglong Kingdom, everyone is very clear about the matter of your 8th son. It's not that I want to say it, but you have to bear the consequences if you make a huge mistake. Your 2nd son has such a good relationship with young Master Wang. Everyone knows the world of the strong. Sect Master Yi said to the king of the Light Dragon Kingdom with a smile on his face. The faces of the people of the Light Dragon Kingdom changed slightly. It was the most ruthless imperial family. Take Long Xiaotian and his brothers for example. There was not much brotherly love between them. After all, they were not born from the same mother. Instead, they competed for the throne. The death of the 8th prince did not matter much to the other princes. On the other hand, it was impossible to say that the dozens of sons of the Guanglong Kingdom were very close to each of them. The dynasty was bigger than those princes. Furthermore, there was the relationship between Long Xiaotian and Wang Xian. Wang Xian was a powerhouse at level 6 of the see-through realm. There were only benefits and no bad things in forming an alliance. If the Heavenly Sword sect agrees, we will agree. The king of the Kingdom of Light Dragon said with a twinkle in his eyes. All right. If young Master Wang wants to negotiate with the Kingdom of Light Dragon, it will be easier. Chief Yi said with a smile on his face. The king of the Kingdom of Light Dragon looked at Wang Xian and took a deep breath. If we can form an alliance this time, we will let bygones be bygones. Don't worry, Long Xiaotian is my brother. Wang Xian smiled faintly. Okay. The king of the Kingdom of Light Dragon nodded and squeezed out a smile. He also knew that his second son had a very good relationship with Wang Xian. If not for his eighth son angering him, it would be the best for the Kingdom of Light Dragon to have an ally at level 6 of the See-Through Realm. In that case, King of the Light Dragon Empire, do you want to go to the Heaven Sword sect with us? Sect Master Yi said with a smile. All right. The King of the Light Dragon Empire hesitated for a moment before nodding his head. Time is of the essence. Let's set off now. Feng Wuan said directly. The group headed outside and flew towards the Heaven Sword sect. Compared to the Light Dragon dynasty, when they came to the Sky Sword sect, their treatment was completely different from that of the Light Dragon dynasty. I didn't expect young Master Wang to actually come to our Sky Sword sect. Hee. Let's go and inform the young miss. An elder floated in the sky and cupped his hands towards Wang Xian as he said with a smile. Didn't expect it? People who don't know about this treatment would think that he's the son-in-law of the Sky Sword sect. Feng Wuan watched from the side and said mockingly. Ahem, elder, beside me is the Queen of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire, the King of the Light Dragon Empire, and the Sect Master of the Bloodstream sect. We are here to talk to your sect master about something important. Wang Xian coughed and explained his purpose of coming here in an awkward manner. Oh, our sect master? Let young Master Wang and the rest come up. As the elder of the Heavenly Sword sect spoke, a voice came from the peak of the Heavenly Sword Mountain. Everyone follow me. The elder of the Heavenly Sword sect gestured upwards. Let's go. Wang Xian nodded his head. Is this the Wang Xian that our young miss likes? A Supreme Heavens Pride expert with terrifying strength, at the 5th level of the Void Interpretation stage. Our young miss has good taste. That's right. He is my idol, an Invincible Heavens Pride expert. Furthermore, back then, senior brother Ren Xingchen wanted to acknowledge him as his master, but was rejected by him. Senior brother Ren Xingchen seems to have been saved by him twice. I heard from senior brother that the reason why he is able to reach this stage today is all because of young Master Wang Xian. Our senior brother Ren Xingchen's talent is also terrifying. In just a little over a year's time, he has actually advanced to the 2nd level of the See-Through Realm. How terrifying! At the bottom of the mountain, some disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect were discussing among themselves when they saw Wang Xian and the rest. When Wang Xian and the rest arrived at the peak of the Heavenly Sword Mountain, there was a middle-aged man and a young man standing on the peak. The middle-aged man looked at Wang Xian in surprise and raised his eyebrows. Sir! Ren Xingchen, who was standing at the side, saw Wang Xian. He took 2 steps forward respectfully and shouted, I didn't expect your strength to improve by quite a lot. My daughter's taste is really good. The middle-aged man looked at Wang Xian with a smile and said with a smile. The corner of Wang Xian's mouth twitched when he heard his words. Sect Leader Ling, we are here to discuss something with you. Oh, what is it? To think that the King of the Guanglong Kingdom, Sect Leader Yi, and the Queen of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire are here as well. Sect Leader Ling asked with a smile on his face. To form an alliance, Sect Leader Ling understands the strength of the Bloodstream sect, the Light Dragon Empire, and the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. In addition, Sect Leader Ling, you and young Master Wang are both at level 6 of the Void Interpretation stage. Let's form an alliance to deal with the upcoming changes. Sect Leader Yi looked at Sect Leader Ling and said seriously. 6th level of the Void Interpretation stage? You've reached this stage? Sect Master Ling was slightly shocked as he stared at Wang Xian and asked. Wang Xian nodded with a smile. Alright, let's talk inside. Sect Master Ling didn't hesitate much and nodded directly. He brought them to a room. The demonic beasts wanted to establish a dynasty. The order for the Blood Flow Empire had been issued. Following that, the storm in the Blood Flow region was about to erupt. In this kind of change, there might be a terrifying war. Even the Heaven Sword sect couldn't guarantee that they would be able to survive this crisis alone. Now that they could form an alliance, it was the best choice. This way, in the next wave, they would be able to grasp the direction. They wouldn't be forced to obey a single order from the Blood Flow Empire. Feng Wuan, forget about the Blood Flow Empire. How long do you think it will take for you to rule the entire Luhai region? After spending 5 hours to discuss everything, everyone left. Wang Xian and Feng Wuan flew towards the Dragon Phoenix Empire as he asked slowly. Forget about the Blood Flow Empire? The sect master of the Heaven Sword sect is very strong. He's at level 6 of the See-Through realm. They're a sect, so there's not much of a hindrance. The Light Dragon Empire and the Boundless Sea Empire are not weak. If I can break through to the 6th level of the Void Interpretation realm, and have another person at the 6th level of the Void Interpretation realm, it should be enough. Why? Why are you asking about this? Feng Wuan looked at him in puzzlement. If you can achieve it, I will help you deal with the Blood Flow Empire. Wang Xian said to Feng Wuan mysteriously. You? Feng Wuan was slightly taken aback before she smiled bitterly. I thought my current development speed was fast enough. I didn't expect that I couldn't keep up with your pace. Let me think of a way. I will try my best to possess such strength within a year. As she spoke, she took a glance at Wang Xian and smiled happily. Chapter 1431. Command the world to lay down the flag. The meaning of the flag laid down by the Bloodshed Empire is obvious. Command the world. When the flag is laid out, all the forces in the entire Luhai region must listen to the order. With the strength of the Bloodshed Empire, they have the right to command the world. In the past, all the level 6 see-through void martial artists in the entire Luhai region were with the Bloodshed Empire. Now, although there is an additional sect master of the Heavenly Sword sect, this does not have much effect on their status. In the vast wilderness, Feng Wuan and Wang Xian sat in a sedan. Outside the sedan, more than 30 insightful Emptiness Realm experts were accompanying them. 2 level 2 insightful Emptiness Realm beasts were pulling their proud sons. Beside Feng Wuan, there was a 1-meter-size flag with the words "Command the World" written on it. After Wang Xian and Feng Wuan returned from the Heaven Sword sect, they gathered more than 30 insightful Emptiness Realm experts and headed to the Blood Flow Empire. The order of the Bloodshed Empire had been sent to the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. They had no choice but to go. If they didn't go, it would be equivalent to not giving face to the Bloodshed Empire. The consequences were obvious. Furthermore, the Bloodshed Empire gathered all the forces for the matter of the demon beasts in the demi-human graveyard. This time, it would be difficult for all the forces to remain unscathed. That was in the past. Wang Xian smiled. I wonder if the Blood Flow Empire has any plans to gather all the forces in the Luhai region. Feng Wuan shook her head. We'll know when we get there. The team proceeded forward. The Blood Flow Empire was at least 300,000 kilometers away from the Dragon Phoenix Empire. The journey was extremely long. If they rushed over, it would take at least 4 to 5 days. At that time, it would also be the time for the Blood Flow Empire to invite all the powers in the world to discuss important matters. At the same time, all the powers in the entire Luhai region started to move, heading towards the direction of the Blood Flow Empire. A storm was about to arrive. Your Majesty, Lord Wang, 2 kilometers ahead is the Blood Flow Empire's imperial city. After traveling for 4 consecutive days, the old woman's voice sounded from outside. Hang up the flag. Feng Wuan waved her arm and opened the curtain. A flag floated above the sedan. As expected of the Bloodshed Imperial City, it's really lively and extraordinary. Wang Xian looked outside and was slightly surprised. In the past, the most magnificent city he had seen was Xiaoyao City. However, compared to the city ahead, Xiaoyao City was much inferior. The entire city was like an ancient Western castle. Every building in the city was extremely luxurious. The golden city gates emitted a thick and heavy color. A city wall of 500 meters was definitely the tallest city wall that Wang Xian had ever seen. They were still 2,000 meters away from the Bloodshed Empire. Below them was a wide road, The road was paved with milky white tiles, giving people a comfortable feeling. The entire road was 2 to 3 kilometers wide, surrounded by luxurious carriages. Many forces with flags also walked towards the imperial city that was filled with historical heritage. Void interpretation level experts could be seen everywhere, and void interpretation level demon beasts could be seen everywhere. In front of the city gate, there was a moat that was 1,000 meters wide. Terrifying fish would occasionally appear in the moat. The level of these fish was not low. Even if a half-step void interpretation expert were to fall into the moat, he would still have a slim chance of survival. The entire Luhai region is as big as Earth. There are definitely more than 10,000 void interpretation experts in there. There should be more than 1,000 people who came to the Bloodshed Empire this time. Including the Bloodshed Empire, there should be close to 2,000 void interpretation experts. Wang Xian thought to himself. What power do you belong to? I'll bring you to the place where you live. Just as they arrived at the entrance of the city, 2 middle-aged men of extraordinary level 9 walked over and asked them. The Dragon and Phoenix Empire. Mang Hong pointed at the flag of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire and said to the 2 middle-aged men, "Come with us." The 2 of them nodded and led them inside. The 2 of them sped along the road while Wang Xian, Feng Wuan, and the rest followed in a car. After traveling for at least 70 to 80 kilometers, they arrived at the location of the square. It was a huge square. The square had an area of at least 5 kilometers. In the middle of the square, there were many statues. Each of the statues was as tall as 100 meters and arranged neatly in a row. In front of the square, there was a huge imperial palace. 2 7 to 8 meters tall lions were lying on the left and right of the imperial palace. These were not stone lions, but 2 third-level void interpretation demonic beasts. One could see how powerful the Blood Flow Empire was. I'll lead you to a castle. Your Dragon Phoenix Empire will temporarily stay in the castle, waiting for the summon of our Blood Emperor. 2 middle-aged transcendents at level 9 spoke to them and led them into a nearby castle. The castle was not very big, but it had a beautiful environment. It was 5 stories high and was very good. There was still running water in the courtyard. A castle outside the palace was already so beautiful, let alone inside the palace. Rest well for a night. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. Feng Wuan said to her subordinates. It's Her Majesty. Everyone nodded. This time, Feng Wuan brought more than 30 insightful Emptiness Realm experts from the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. Beside Wang Xian, Ao Jian and a golden swordfish were followed by 15 strange demons. Ao Yao was personally leading the team. Other than Ao Yao, the rest of the strange demons were the strongest 14 among the strange demons. 4 were at level 3 of the Void Interpretation Realm. 10 were at level 2 of the Void Interpretation Realm. And level 3 of the Void Interpretation Realm could assassinate level 4 of the Void Interpretation Realm. 10 were at level 2 of the Void Interpretation Realm, and they could assassinate level 3 of the Void Interpretation Realm. This force was not strong, but it was definitely not weak. At the very least, other than the King of the Light Dragon Dynasty, the Hanhai Dynasty, the Divine Wind Academy, and the Bloodstream Sect, the strange demons could be easily assassinated. Even the king of some dynasties could be dealt with. If Ao Yao was included, there was no need to mention it. I'll have a good look at the various factions in the Luhai region tomorrow. Wang Xian sat in a room in the room. He poured a cup of tea and muttered with a smile on his face. Are they here? At this moment, in a large hall in the imperial palace, 4 to 5 middle-aged elders were sitting on both sides. A middle-aged man in blood-red clothes, and a beautiful woman sat in the center. The one who spoke was the middle-aged man sitting at the side. Sir, the people of the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty have arrived. The middle-aged man standing in the center reported respectfully. It's good that they're here. Your Highness, I'll have to trouble the Shadow Division of the Blood Flow dynasty. The middle-aged man said to the middle-aged man in the middle of the blood-red clothes with a smile. Your Highness, that supreme genius named Wuxia is also with the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. Before the middle-aged man in the blood-red clothes could speak, the reporting staff quickly said, "Oh, that supreme genius at level 5 of the see-through void?" On both sides, the middle-aged elders frowned slightly. Chapter 1432. The name of the supreme genius, Wuxia, was known by everyone in the entire demi-human graveyard. He had the ability to kill a level 5 seeping void martial artist, a peerless genius. When the few people in the main hall heard this name, they were slightly shocked. "Yes, sir. That supreme genius, Wuxia, is with the Dragon and Phoenix Empire." The middle-aged man who came to report said respectfully. The middle-aged men frowned slightly. They knew very well that the Dragon and Phoenix Empire had 2 powerhouses at level 5 of the see-through void tier. However, they did not expect that the other person, Lord Wang, who was at level 5 of the see-through void tier, was actually a supreme prodigy. Furthermore, he had followed them here this time. Wouldn't that mean that the 2 powerhouses at level 5 of the see-through void tier from the Dragon and Phoenix Empire were here? This would be a little difficult to deal with. Supreme prodigy, I'm really envious. I used more than 400 years to reach the 5th level of the profound void tier. And the other party reached it before the age of 30, TSK. The middle-aged man in the middle of the blood-red clothes sipped his tea and said, "Your Highness, in my heart, you are the most powerful." "Hee, what do you mean by prodigy?" "Strength is strength. Our Highness is not weaker than that brat." Beside the middle-aged man in blood-red clothes, a beautiful woman leaned against the middle-aged man with a smile on her face as she spoke. "Haha, but no matter what, that kid is already a very powerful expert." The middle-aged man in blood-red clothes smiled as his gaze swept past the people from the Life and Death Pill and Holy Item Forging Workshop on both sides. "Your Highness, even if it's an additional 5th-level void interpretation expert, it shouldn't be too much of a problem for your blood flow empire, right?" An old man said with a frown. "1 or 2, even if it's 3 or 4, it won't have much of an impact." The middle-aged man in blood-red clothing smiled indifferently. "Then your Highness, tonight's words." The old man hurriedly opened his mouth and looked at him. "Directly assassinating, this kind of method is simply too low-end. Before the Dragon Phoenix Empire dies, we can still make use of it. Don't be anxious." The middle-aged man in blood-red clothes said with a smile. "Oh, Your Highness, the Blood Emperor and our 2 chief supervisors have already gone to the vast region. This matter is entirely under your control. Do you have a better method?" An old man's eyes flickered as he asked. "Everyone will naturally know tomorrow. Everyone, don't worry. The matter that our blood flow dynasty has promised will definitely be accomplished." The middle-aged man in the blood-red costume kept them guessing and said with a smile, "That's good. We will wait for the good news from the Crown Prince. We will take our leave first." A few middle-aged men cupped their hands and walked out directly. "I didn't expect that the king of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty was actually a woman." After the few of them left, the beautiful woman in the main hall stood up and sat beside the middle-aged man. She spoke with some surprise. "Other than Mei Wan, she is the 2nd queen of the Luhai region." The young man in the blood-red attire hugged the gorgeous woman's body and squinted his eyes. "That Wuxia is not simple. He has many subordinates at the insightful void tier." "Huh." The gorgeous woman was slightly taken aback. "I heard that there are more than 300 powerhouses in the Dragon and Phoenix Empire." The number of insightful void tier powerhouses in the Dragon and Phoenix Empire, along with the subordinates of that Wuxia, is not much less than our bloody flow empire. The middle-aged man in blood-red clothes shook the tea beside him and said slowly, "What? How is this possible? How can there be so many experts?" The gorgeous woman said with a face full of disbelief. "This is the information that our blood flow empire received. It is absolutely true. However, there is still a huge gap between our overall strength and the blood flow empire." The middle-aged man in blood-red clothes said with a smile, "That is not the case. Just the Blood Flow Empire has 10 to 20 subordinate dynasties and forces. How can a small empire compare to them? The alluring woman said in a fawning manner. Hee. The middle-aged man in blood-red clothes smiled, his eyes flashing with a luster. He was the current crown prince of the Blood Flow Empire. Now he had the strength of a 5th-level void interpretation. When he reached the 6th-level void interpretation, it would be the time for him to ascend to the throne. In the current empire, he was in charge of many matters big and small. This time, he was also the one who presided over the command of the Blood Flow Empire. It could be said that he was announcing to the world that this was the future Blood Emperor. Everyone from the Dragon and Phoenix Empire, please head to the Imperial Palace. Early in the morning the next day, a middle-aged man came to the castle and said to all of them, "All right, bring us there then." Feng Yuan nodded. Everyone followed behind the middle-aged man and headed towards the Imperial Palace. After entering the huge Imperial Palace, they rode on horse carriages and headed inside. The entire Imperial Palace was like a different world, beautiful and magnificent. "Everyone, please alight from the carriage." When they arrived at the front of a large hall, the sedan driver spoke to them. Wang Xian, Feng Yuan, and the rest walked down and looked ahead. What a huge palace! Looking at the huge palace in front of him, Wang Xian was slightly surprised. The name of the palace was the Dragon Gathering Palace. It was the place where the Blood Flow royal family held all kinds of huge banquets. The surrounding forces were holding a flag just like them. They scanned their surroundings in surprise and walked inside. Dragon Phoenix Empire, isn't this a newly rising powerful empire? I heard that the empire is a queen and is extremely powerful. This Dragon Phoenix Empire has risen rapidly in just 2 short years. If it has more than 200 cities, its strength would be comparable to the Hanhai Empire and Light Dragon Empire. I heard that this empire is extremely belligerent and is expanding crazily. The surrounding factions walked into the hall one by one. When they saw the flag of the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty beside Wang Xian and Feng Yuan, they were discussing in low voices. Wang Xian and Feng Yuan swept their gaze across the area. There were at least 20 to 30 factions walking into the hall. There were more than 40 dynasties in the Luhai region. However, there were also other sects and powerful families. The number of these factions was not much less than the dynasty. Each of them gave off the aura of a high-ranking person as they strolled inside. There were at least 1,000 people, but they were not noisy at all. They were all people of status. After entering the hall, there were already about 1,000 people inside. Each of them sat in a separate area. In each area there was a banner. It was the banner of the dynasty and the various factions. "The Dragon and Phoenix dynasty, please follow us." A eunuch walked over and led them to the front with an expressionless face. "This is your position." The eunuch pointed to a few tables and said. Everyone nodded. Wang Xian looked around and realized that the Hanhai dynasty was beside them. The Light Dragon dynasty was not too far away from them. They were in a position near the front. This should be divided according to the strength of each dynasty. Feng Yuan noticed that they were in a relatively high position. She also glanced around and said, Chapter 1433. The entire hall was divided into 70 to 80 regions, and each region had a main seat. The region where Wang Xian and Feng Yuan were located was behind the various family forces in the Blood Flow Empire. In terms of the various dynasty and sect forces, their seats were at the very front. Along with them was the Heavenly Sword sect. Feng Yuan looked at this seat and slightly raised her brows. One by one, the factions walked into the main hall. Soon, all the seats in the main hall were filled. There were about 1,000 to 2,000 people. Beside each dynasty and faction, the flags of their respective factions were hung. At a glance, it encompassed all the factions in the entire Luhai region. Wang Xian scanned his surroundings slightly. He had a rough understanding of the factions in the entire Luhai region. Feng Yuan, the sect master of the Heaven Sword sect, the sect master of the Bloodstream sect, and the king of the Light Dragon dynasty, looked at each other and nodded. The emperor has arrived. The crown prince has arrived. Just as all the dynasties and sects in the hall were sizing up everyone around them, a eunuch's voice came from the front. Eunuch. Everyone looked forward and landed on the three old men and the middle-aged man in blood-red clothes. The two old men each held two scepters and followed behind the middle-aged man. The old man's eyes did not seem to open. His large red robe completely enveloped his body. The middle-aged man in blood-red clothes behind him slightly raised his head. His face was filled with an aura of looking down on the world. He glanced disdainfully at everyone in the hall. His gaze paused on the Dragon Phoenix dynasty for a moment, and his face was filled with a faint smile. Emperor, those two old men are two emperors. They were once the Blood Emperor. Only experts at the 6th level of the Profound Void tier are qualified to be called emperors. Those two old men were once the emperors of the Blood Flow Empire. The middle-aged man behind is the crown prince of the Blood Flow Empire. I heard that he has reached the 5th level of the Profound Void tier at the age of 400. I heard that this generation's Blood Emperor did not rush over due to some matters. Everything today will be handed over to the crown prince of the Blood Flow Empire to carry out. Too strong, simply too strong. From afar, I can feel a terrifying pressure from the two elders. It makes one's heart palpitate. When they saw the three people walk over proudly, everyone's faces revealed an astonished expression. They discussed in low voices. Your Majesty, Your Highness the Crown Prince. In the front row, the experts from some of the forces and clans within the Blood Flow Empire stood up respectfully and bowed as they shouted, Your Majesty, Your Highness the Crown Prince. In the back row, some kings and experts stood up and cupped their hands. These were the subordinate forces of the Blood Flow Empire. As the only region in the Blood Flow region, the subordinate forces of the Blood Flow Empire were very terrifying. Everyone has come from afar. It's been hard on you. The middle-aged crown prince walked to the center seat and waved his hand with a smile. The two old men beside him sat on one chair on the left and the other on the right. The height of the two chairs was very high, even higher than the chair behind the middle-aged man. Are all the forces here? The middle-aged crown prince asked an old man beside him indifferently. Your Highness, I'm sorry we're late. At this moment, two teams walked over from outside the door. In front of each team was a middle-aged man holding a flag with the words, Holy Item Forging Workshop and Life and Death Pill Workshop written on it. The two teams didn't sit at the back, but on both sides of the two emperors and the middle-aged crown prince. Even these two forces were qualified to sit at these two places. I represent the entire Luhai region to thank you for coming to the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop. The middle-aged man smiled and nodded at them. Haha. The old man in front of the two forces smiled and sat on his seat. Reporting to Your Highness, the Shilai Kingdom and the Lantern Soul sect have not arrived. At this moment, the old man held a booklet in his hand and said with a frown, Today, all the forces of the Luhai region have been summoned. It is related to the safety of the entire Luhai region. To resist the foreign forces, we must first pacify the domestic forces. The middle-aged crown prince slowly sat on the chair. Those two forces that didn't come might become our traitors in the future. Hee. Any unstable factors cannot exist. Destroy them. To resist the foreign forces, we must first pacify the domestic forces. And the best way to pacify the domestic forces was to destroy them. It's Your Highness the Crown Prince. We already have two lords bringing people over. The old man nodded. The middle-aged crown prince's order caused everyone around to take a deep breath as their eyes flickered. This was the Blood Flow Empire's tyranny. Once the flag of the world was out, if they didn't come, they would die. This wasn't the prestige and tyranny that had been accumulated over a day or two. It was the prestige that an invincible force should have. Today, our Blood Flow Empire gathered all the forces in the Luhai region. Everyone should be very clear about this. The Demon Beast clan wants to establish an empire. All along, the Demon Beast clan has had more experts than us. based on the hatred that exists between us humans and the demon beasts in the human-demon graveyard. Once their empire is established and all the forces are unified, the peace of us humans will no longer exist. The cruel blood-savage demon beasts are the natural enemies of humans. We absolutely cannot let the demon beasts establish an empire. We must stop them at all costs. The middle-aged crown prince swept his gaze across everyone and said indifferently, "All of our dynasties will listen to the orders of the Blood Flow Empire. Your Highness, what do you think we should do?" A king of a subordinate dynasty of the Blood Flow Empire respectfully said from below, "That's right. We will listen to the Blood Flow Empire and listen to your orders. We absolutely cannot allow the Demon Beast clan to unify." Another dynasty also spoke up. All the factions understood this matter, and they had to stop it. Otherwise, it would be a bomb to the various dynasty factions in the Bloodflow region. Good, our Bloodflow Empire already has a plan for this matter. We'll take the initiative to attack. We definitely cannot let the demon beast race establish an empire. The middle-aged crown prince stood up, and his sonorous voice entered everyone's ears. This time, our Bloodflow Empire will lead all the forces in the Flowing Sea region to deal a heavy blow to the Demon Beast clan. Everyone, don't worry. During this war with the Demon Beasts, the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop will provide us with a large number of pills and weapons. As he spoke, he looked at the two powerful forces on both sides, the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop. The elders from the two factions nodded slowly. Crown Prince Bloodflow, I would like to ask how many people each of our factions needs to send out, and how to fight. At this moment, the Sky Sword Sect Master spoke slowly. The Sky Sword Sect Master's question is good. For the sake of fairness, each faction will send out 1/3 of the insightful Emptiness Realm experts. As for how to fight, it is naturally for our Bloodflow Empire to formulate a plan. The middle-aged crown prince said, as if it was a matter of course. Chapter 1434. Every faction will send out 1/3 of their forces. This is an all-out war with the Demon Beast clan. 1/3 of their forces? When Crown Prince Bloodflow finished speaking, some of the factions frowned slightly and discussed in low voices. Our Zero Glory Dynasty agrees with Your Highness Crown Prince. We will definitely comply. Our Storm Dynasty will listen to the orders of Bloodflow Dynasty. Very quickly, the various factions voiced their agreement. Within these dynasties, there were only 20 to 30 insightful Emptiness Realm experts. Even if they were to send out 1/3 of their strength, it would still be acceptable. Moreover, the upcoming war was hard to say. Most importantly, once the Bloodshed Empire made a decision, they had no right to resist at all. Their dynasty's strongest expert was only at the 4th level of the insightful Emptiness Realm. If the Bloodshed Empire wanted to destroy them, it would be a piece of cake. Sect Master Ling's expression did not change at all when he heard his words. I have a piece of information here. This is what our Bloodflow Dynasty has gathered. The Zero Glow Dynasty now has 28 insightful Void Realm experts. The North Spirit Dynasty has 33 insightful Void Realm experts. The Storm Dynasty has 23 insightful Void Realm experts. The Sky Sword Sect has 393 insightful Void Realm experts. Prince Bloodflow looked at the numbers on the data and said indifferently. This caused all the forces in the Flowing Sea region to be slightly shocked, and their faces revealed a shocked expression. The Bloodflow Dynasty has actually found out the number of experts in each of our forces. The expressions of the kings and sect leaders of some dynasties and sects changed slightly. These numbers were considered confidential to them. However, the Bloodflow Empire was able to find out so easily. As expected of the overlord of the Flowing Sea region, the eyes of all the experts flashed. They knew that it was impossible to hide this information. One by one, the insightful Emptiness Realm experts were called out by Prince Bloodflow. The Sky Sword Sect and a few other large forces were slightly unhappy. There's one dynasty that surprised me the most. The Dragon Phoenix Dynasty has at least 537 insightful emptiness realm experts. It really surprises us. 537? Our Bloody Flow dynasty only has a little more than you guys. Prince Bloody Flow said as he looked in the direction of Feng Yuan, his eyes shining. What? More than 500 insightful emptiness realm experts? How is this possible? As far as we know, there are only more than 300. How can there be so many? Some of the dynasty's forces revealed shocked expressions as they looked over with their eyes wide open. Feng Yuan frowned slightly and took a sip of the tea beside her. There was no change in her expression. She knew that the Blood Flow Empire must have included the Dragon Palace's strength that they knew. She looked at Wang Xian. Wang Xian smiled and didn't mind. Sect leader Ling of the Heaven Sword Sect, the king of the Light Dragon Empire, and sect leader Yi of the Blood Flow Sect all looked at Feng Yuan. Their eyes were also filled with astonishment. More than 500 insightful void martial artists had hidden their strength too deeply. If one didn't count their top-notch combat strength, the Dragon Phoenix Empire was only slightly weaker than the Blood Flow Empire. Even the Heaven Sword Sect couldn't compare to them. Seeing that Feng Yuan did not show any fluctuations, Prince Bloodflow slightly raised his eyebrows and revealed a satisfied expression. This is a map of the demon beasts in the human demon graveyard. In a few days, we will attack every demon beast race and disrupt their plans to establish an empire. As the sixth prince spoke, he waved his arm, and a huge map appeared in the air. The map clearly recorded the distribution of the forces of each demon beast race. Among the demon beast race, the blood barbaric demon beast, the demon scale demon beast, and the bloodthirsty sea demon beast are the most powerful. They have experts at the 6th level of the profound void tier. According to the information we received, the strongest experts of these 3 demon beast races are gathered here to discuss the matter of establishing the Imperial Palace. Therefore, we will launch a sneak attack on all the demonic beast races' lairs in 5 days' time to disrupt their plans. Prince Bloodflow said as he pointed with his arm. The Heaven Sword Sect and the Bloodstream Sect are in charge of launching a sneak attack on the demonic beasts' lairs. The Light Dragon Dynasty, the Hanhai Dynasty, and the Divine Wind Academy are in charge of the bloodthirsty sea demon race, and the Dragon Phoenix Dynasty is in charge of the blood barbaric demon beast race. Wait! Prince Bloodstream pointed at the map in the sky as he spoke. However, before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by Sect Leader Ling. Oh, Sect Leader Ling, does your Sky Sword Sect have any objections? Prince Bloodstream looked at the sect leader of the Sky Sword Sect with a smile on his face, as he spoke indifferently. On the contrary, when the surrounding dynasty forces heard Prince Bloodstream's words, they heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. Handing over these 3 strongest demonic beast races to the top-tier factions in the Bloodflow region was the best choice in their eyes. I don't have any objections to our Sky Sword Sect facing the demonic Lin demonic beast race. Facing the powerful demonic beast race, only a few of our factions are able to deal with them. However, you've given away all 3 great demonic beast races. I want to ask, what is your Bloodflow Empire doing? Sect Leader Ling asked the Bloodflow Empire with a calm expression. Our Bloodflow Empire is in charge of the overall situation. This is an order, this is not a discussion, Prince Bloodflow said. Suddenly, an old man holding a blood-red scepter at the back slowly raised his head and said calmly. Prince Bloodflow was slightly stunned and slowly raised his head. This, as expected of the Bloodflow Empire, incomparably overbearing. The Bloodflow Empire has dominated for thousands of years, so it naturally has the strength. Even if the Spirit Sword Sect has a 6th level void interpretation expert, it still can't change the overall situation. When the surrounding people heard the old man's words, their pupils slightly constricted, and they pursed their lips. The entire hall became silent. This was the might of the Bloodflow Empire. Hee, our Bloodflow Empire naturally cannot just stand by and watch. In the end, we still have to rely on our Bloodflow Empire when facing the Demon Beast Empire. Prince Bloodflow said indifferently, and shrugged his shoulders slightly. Sect leader Ling of the Sky Sword Sect frowned slightly. His expression was somewhat unsightly as his eyes flickered. We don't have the strength to let our Dragon Phoenix Empire face the blood barbaric demon beast. At this moment, Feng Wuan frowned slightly and said directly, Hehe, your Dragon Phoenix Empire is so strong. How can we not do it? At this moment, the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop, which were sitting at the front and two sides, stared at Feng Wuan with smiles on their faces and said with a smile. They finally understood the Bloodflow Empire's plan today. They didn't even need to do it themselves. The Dragon Phoenix Empire would suffer heavy losses, and they could even use the Dragon Phoenix Empire to weaken the demonic beasts. Killing two birds with one stone. Killing two birds with one stone. You've underestimated your strength, this queen. If the 6th level of the Profound Void tier isn't here, you have the Supreme Prodigy. It's just a blood-savage demonic beast. You can still deal with it. Prince Bloodflow looked at Feng Wuan and slowly picked up the wine cup. Moreover, this is an order. Who else has an opinion? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.